through it, covering the severe weather. Yeah. Okay. Covering this. Yeah. Let's just keep on going. Covering the severe weather outbreak here in the Midwest. We're actually going to toss things over to Robert. He'll just take over the wall. Or no?
Yeah, just keep going.
Okay, I'll just keep on going. So right now we have a severe weather outbreak basically stretching from northern Iowa all the way down to Arkansas. It's been a tough day so far. We've seen multiple tornadoes touching down in places like Little Rock, north of Memphis. We actually have an active situation going on there. We also see a situation brewing in Springfield, and we've seen a lot of tornadoes all across Iowa today, too. So it's been a very active day. But again, that is to be expected because we've had a 5 out of 5 risk for severe weather across the area. So again, 5 out of 5 risk, that means high potential for tornadoes, several of them, and large hail up to 1 inch, as well as high winds up to 60 miles per hour, and flooding that's localized, which was a little bit less of a threat for this event, but still something to mention. But overall, risk is high. It's a 5 out of 5 risk. Again, we have a in the atmosphere. We had even more earlier today. We're seeing that winding down a little bit, but still a lot of instability in our atmosphere. Wind shear, we have a lot of wind shear as well. That's feeding the severe weather that we're currently seeing in the southeast right now. And the National Water Vapor Imagery shows that we have a lot of storms reaching high up into the atmosphere. Basically, this imagery is measuring the cloud tops and how high they're reaching into the atmosphere. So we have a lot of these storm cells that are really reaching high into the atmosphere because we see a lot of convection and very strong storms. Most of them are supercells, discrete, and they're producing tornadoes and hail. That's a very big threat, and we'll continue to see that push its way through the Ohio River Valley region in the Mid-South, impacting places like Kentucky, Tennessee, as well as Indiana and Ohio. And we also see that it's contributing a little bit to Minnesota with a large blizzard as well. But again, it's a really large system stretching from Arkansas all the way up to the Great Lakes and Canada. And it will continue to press through into Saturday when it will finally get out of most of the East Coast, or most of the East, and impact just the coast. But again, it's a large system, and it will continue to impact us on the East Coast as well, impacting the southeast and also up there in the mid-Atlantic with a 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather as well. So with that being said, though, with the severe weather thunderstorm categories, we see that for a base severe thunderstorm warning, we're expecting 58 mile per hour winds and 1 inch of hail. That's what you can expect when you see a base severe thunderstorm warning. As for a considerable tag, you can expect winds that are 70 miles per hour or greater, or you can expect hail up to 1.75 inches, which is about golf ball size. So again, pretty dangerous there. And then destructive. This is another tag that you could see where it's over 80 mile per hour winds and/or baseball-sized hail. So very strong storms that we could see progressing later into the evening and nighttime hours. But all this will show up on your phone and no weather radios if you have both of those. So definitely make sure that you stay aware and keep your phone charged. Now for tornado terminology, let's talk about watch, warning, and emergency. Watch means be prepared. The ingredients are there. One of the best comparisons is if you're baking a cupcake, you have all the ingredients, but you haven't actually baked it yet. That's what a tornado watch is. You're being prepared, but conditions are favorable. And a tornado warning is, let's go back to that slide. Tornado warning is whenever those ingredients have gotten together and made a cupcake. So basically, this is when we know that a tornado is either on the ground or it's quite likely according to the radar. So that is another elevation above a watch. And then the last elevation is a tornado emergency, which is meaning that it's on the ground, confirmed, and it's going to take human life as it heads towards a highly populated center. So that is what you can expect with a tornado emergency, and something to be on alert. If you are under one of those, you have to get inside and indoors and into your shelter immediately. But with all these, take it quite seriously. So now let's get into a little bit of tornado safety. If this tornado is heading towards your house, you definitely want to stay into the interior rooms of your home. So you do not want to be in a room or a space that has an exterior wall. So this bedroom, this garage, Both are not appropriate places. The closet, though, is an appropriate place. If you do not have a closet, though, even the hall will suffice. But don't go in the bathroom or the kitchen, because both of those places, according to this blueprint, have outdoor walls attached. And that's actually pretty much to be expected with most of your kitchens and your bedrooms. Living room as well in this case. So make sure that you're in the hall, the stairs, the closet. The bathroom, if it's an interior bathroom, is okay. But if it's one of those master bathrooms that has the window attached to it, that means an exterior wall. Do not do that. Avoid windows, doors, and outside walls. Cover yourself with blankets or mattresses for protection. So if you are not in a tornado shelter, then you need to take extra precautions and put these fluffy, light things on top of you, because the wind is not really the threat as much as it is the damage. The debris that it's picking up. So you can see with certain tornadoes, they've picked up things like hay before and tossed them into steel beams. So you can just imagine what it can do with almost anything in your human body. So that is something to keep in mind. Of course, the best place is basement level. So if you do have a basement or a tornado shelter, that is the best place. Below ground, away from all these windows and glass, and it's your safest option. But of course, maybe it's not an option that you can take part in. We understand that, but just try to get into the interior room of your home. But now we'll actually go into our real breakdown of the warnings that are currently taking place. And we have all these watches stretching from Arkansas all the way up to Iowa, but we'll zoom in actually to Springfield, I think. That was one of the ones that's most notable. Or we can actually take, yes, yeah, exactly. So we will, here we go. So we have a pretty complex system here that's been producing a decent amount of tornadoes. And here is one of the ones that we've been watching. This is a tornado warning just east of Springfield. And it was producing a tornado earlier, and it still has that observed tag. The tornado warning is in effect till 6:45 p.m. Central Time, and so that means if you are in any of these communities and need to take shelter, we actually have a new tornado warning as well that's pushing it more northeastward. So if you're in Mount Pulaski or LNI, those are both communities that could be at risk. We thanks to our meteorologist over here, Evan is pointing out that we have this circulation right here that's east of Buffalo Hart, but in between that, El Lopez, and Mount Pulaski. So again, we have this circulation that's pretty tight, pretty noticeable. It is going to continue to progress northeastward, north of I-72, and let's get a timing on that real quick. But it's for, this tornado warning is for DeWitt County, Logan County, Macon, and Sacramone. And this will be for 7 p.m. Central Time. So if you are in any of these counties that I just mentioned, you should be taking shelter now. Respect the polygon, make sure you're indoors and away from windows, and that you are staying safe. So we're going to get a timing down on this. So we have Austin, 6:54 p.m. You guys could be expecting this tornado to arrive. Kenny, 6:58 p.m., and then Tunebridge, 7 p.m. So if you're in any of those communities, make sure you're taking shelter. The Laina as well at 6:47. You guys are at the front door of this tornado-producing cell. So again, make sure that you're taking precautions, staying inside, away from windows, interior rooms, basements preferred. And keep your weather radio or your phone on alert, making sure that you are listening. So let's make sure actually we pronounce this right. Pulaski. Okay, so Pulaski. That is another community to take note in. So again, this tornado will continue to push northeastward. Now let's zoom out again and look at some of the other tornado-producing supercells. There's many to choose from, but I think we should probably look at the one north of Memphis. This one has been a really bad producing storm. It's actually been confirmed on the ground for over an hour at this point, and we're finally starting to see a little bit of a less, I don't know, is this because it's away from the radar, or is this because, so it's not looking as presentable on radar anymore, but we can actually maybe migrate down south to some of the other communities in Arkansas. But still, this is a tornado warning, so if you're in western Tennessee, you're going to continue to see these tornadoes. This one, though, going towards Memphis is probably the more notable of concern. We have a actual hook echo, notably right here for the counties of Arkansas and Monroe. So they're both going towards highly populated centers. And really what we're looking at for this particular event is this hook right here. That's an inflow notch. Basically, we're seeing winds flowing into the storm, and then we have downdrafts and updrafts that are competing with one another. And basically, we're seeing this air tilting, producing a tornado. For this radar indicated, but it is a considerable threat. It's for counties, let's keep those counties up, Lee, Phillips, St. Francis, and Tunica. It's valid till 7:15 p.m. Central Time. So if you are in any of these counties, and if you're just in the Memphis area, you should definitely be taking precautions right now, getting into the interior room of your home and into the basement if you have that option. If you're in a mobile home, you should probably try to find a neighbor that has a house. That is your best option. You should not be staying in a mobile home at this time. But yes, we have this tornado that's moving towards Memphis. It is tracking along just south of US Highway 79. So that is kind of your road indicator. Let's try to get that radar to bring it back up if we can. But in the meantime, again, we have this supercell that's basically headed a little bit north of Helena, going towards Rondo. Yes, it's basically getting ready to cross US 49. So that is, if you're along any of these roads, US 49, US 79, you should be taking shelter, getting off the highway, going towards into a gas station, into a public facility if you can find one. If not, start knocking on doors. This is one of those situations where you just need to beg for help. We have a confirmed circulation right here. Again, it's radar indicated, but that does not mean that you should neglect it. It is valid until 7 p.m., and we have that new warning just ahead of it that's valid until 7:15 p.m. So this is an evolving situation and one that's very dangerous for those living in the counties just southwest of Memphis. And those in Memphis should also take precautions because this is headed straight towards the Memphis area. And honestly, that has been the case for most of today, and we have another supercell that's lining up and getting ready to take its shot at central Arkansas and eastern Arkansas, but right now it's in southwest Arkansas, just north of Camden. And this one has, again, that hook feature that we've been talking about on this show for quite a while. It has that inflow notch. Basically, this means that we have a tornado, that we have this column of air that has been tilted and it's trying to produce a tornado. It is radar indicated and it's valid till 7 p.m. Central Time for counties Calhoun, Dallas, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that one, but anyway, Ouachita. So if you're in Ouachita, Dallas, or Calhoun counties, you should be taking shelter now because we have this tornado warning that's progressing along, what is that U.S. highway? 278. So if you're on 278, you should be taking shelter, getting off that road, getting into a ditch if possible, or if necessary, if possible, you should be going into a gas station or another public facility, or knocking on doors if you need to. But again, we have this supercell that's moving towards the northeast and will continue to push upwards towards central Arkansas. We have a little bit of circulation here. It's a little bit less apparent on our radar, but that's probably because it's a little bit further away from our radar. So while we're looking at it, though, we can still see a little bit of that dark and light color greens, which just shows that we have that difference in wind speeds. And so we can expect that it'll still be a little bit of circulation there. And while we have that tornado warning there, you should still always respect the polygon, even if maybe you're looking at the radar and you don't think it's as presentable as the National Weather Service has it. It's still one of those situations where it's a warned storm and it could produce a tornado at any moment. So we've seen multiple tornadoes all across today, and they've been very severe, causing multiple fatalities and damage across Arkansas, Tennessee, upwards into Illinois and Iowa. But now I think, Chase, are you ready to talk? All right, we'll toss things over to Chase now, and he's going to break down the situation a little bit further.
All right, so we've got severe weather, like Chandler said, all across the central U.S. We are looking at a high risk, as you can see, bullseyed in Iowa, and we have one further south into Arkansas, and Mississippi. And we're going to take a look at some of these mesoscale discussions. That's basically a discussion put out by the Storm Prediction Center about what's going on in the atmosphere. So the one I looked at about 26 minutes ago, basically the synopsis of it is there's a severe threat of this line of storms that is moving into Illinois and Indiana, it looks like. And the environment itself is already favorable. We got excessive Cape values, plenty of shear, plenty of moisture. If you folks can believe it, the conditions are only going to get better. They're only going to get more favorable. That's what the SPC is saying. That is a strong word from the SPC. The environment is much more favorable to produce straight line winds, large hail, and tornadoes. As it is, this is a little more scientific, we're on the exit region of a 90 to 110 knot jet. Basically what that means is if you're on the exit region of a very strong jet, you get those air parcels get a lot easier to lift, and you get stronger storms. It's just more favorable for severe weather. So that's just layman terms for that. But basically, as these storms move out of Illinois into Indiana, the conditions are going to get better into the lower Ohio River Valley, and the severe threat will only increase east and south these areas. So people, if you are in the path of these storms, doesn't even look like the weather's to you yet, please be prepared and be on the lookout, because these cells are only going to get more powerful as we go into the night, because the conditions are only going to get better. And that is from the SPC. Now, they issued another one, and this mesoscale discussion was mainly about one of the tornadoes we had in Arkansas, basically saying we have two discrete supercells that look like they're getting more organized. It means we can see stronger tornado, we can see them starting to drop tornadoes, and one of them, it looks like, has its sights set onto Memphis. But actually, we're going to take a look at our power outages across the U.S., because as we did have that major tornado go through Little Rock, Arkansas earlier, and we did have those tornadoes go through Iowa. So if we look at some of the counties, we actually had, if you can believe it, it looked like on radar, 2 tornadoes on the ground in Iowa, one just to north of Iowa City and one just to the south. Iowa City was right in the middle. Hopefully they didn't have any damage there. But Iowa City, you're in Johnson County. Let me see if I can find it here on the map. Johnson County, there are 78,000 residents. Currently 4,000 of you are without power, which is not great, but it's better to see a lower number than a high number. And then if we look further up to the north, we have Delaware, which is where we had a line of cells go through. More than half of you folks are without power right now. So you folks without power, please find some way to stay aware, because as these storms continue to push through, there will be more warnings issued. And we're going to take a look at now Arkansas. And when we had the cell go through earlier, we had it go through Pulaski County, which is where Little Rock's located, and currently 53,000 folks are without power right now, out of a population of roughly 223,000. So that's quite a few people without power, as we did have that powerful tornado go through Little Rock earlier. And then we look at Cross County, which is where we have Wine, which took a direct hit from what looked like a monster tornado. And more than half of you folks in that county are without power right now. So if you know any folks there, please forward warnings to them. Please keep a lookout, because right now they currently have no way of getting warnings because they have no power. So text message is your best friend when it comes to that. And then as that storm moved out of Cross County into Crittenden County, it looked even better on radar. About 6,000 of you folks are without power over there. So again, same story. And then if we look into go into Memphis now, this is where that cell that went north of Memphis about 30-40 minutes ago, it looked incredible on radar. During this point, we had debris signatures of up to 25,000 feet. Basically, the storm is throwing debris up to 25,000 feet in the air. And that makes sense, because we are having 15,000, almost 16,000 folks without power out of a population of 25,000. And then as the storm moved into Brownsville, into Haywood County, 783 are without power, but I'm sure that number will go up as we see the storm, as these numbers climb and as they get updated. But if we take a quick look at the radar, see, I pulled up here, we've got multiple tornado warnings right now in Iowa. And let me see if I can pull up velocity here. Yes, I can. You can see we've got little notches in every single one of these areas. We've got a notch here. We've got some further notches up north. Basically, that's telling us the storm is starting to rotate. It doesn't mean we're going to have, it doesn't mean a tornado is exactly on the ground, but that doesn't matter. The warnings are issued by the National Weather Service. There is a reason why. So I'd recommend, listening to them and taking shelter. And if we're going to shoot further down south, we do have a tornado warning just north of Springfield. As you can see there, let me just pull up the radar really quick. And that storm luckily missed Springfield just to the north. And you can see that we have a little notch there. Basically, that notch means we have wind going towards radar, wind going away, and that creates rotation. We get the spinning. So we have a tornado. If you are in Springfield, please take precautions. take cover now. And let me see, I'm going to zoom out further south because I know we have other tornado warnings we want to talk about. And if we look at, this was the cell that went north of Memphis a few hours ago. We are currently in a radar hole, or radar area where we can't get much reading from radar. It's currently in an area where we don't have any radar, but you can start to see it come on velocity here. Let me see if I can zoom in on that one. See, very powerful velocity couplet there, even though it's kind of hard to see. There is, again, the reason why the National Weather Service did issue a tornado warning. So if you are in the path of this storm, please take precautions. If you are in Humbert, Wildersville, just north of Jackson, please take cover. This has been a confirmed tornado for hours that we have been talking about. And then if we zoom out further south, there is another tornado. It looks like it could be heading towards just south of Memphis. Pull up reflectivity here. See, this is one of the cells they were talking about on the mesoscale discussion in Arkansas that were getting better organized and moving north, moving off to the northeast. So if you folks are in Mariana, North Tunica, or just to the north of Helen and West Helena, please take cover, as these cells are rotating and they could have a tornado they could have tornadoes on the ground as we speak. As you can see, we got a velocity couplet there. Not the best to see because we are further away from the radar, so it's hard to see, but we do have rotation there. Now, if you look at correlation coefficient, this basically tells us if there's anything in the air. There could be debris in the air. Again, it is far away from the radar, so it's hard to tell. That doesn't matter. If you are in the path of the storm, please take cover. Every storm today has been incredibly violent, so please take your precautions. And let's look further into Arkansas, as we have another cell in Arkansas that's getting ready to go. Let's see if we can get that one on radar. We're not in a great area for radar, so it is hard to see where this one is exactly going on with this one, but it does look like it's getting better organized. I would trust the SPC. As this cell is getting better organized, it could be dropping a tornado. So you folks there, we're going to take a look at the National Weather Service as well to see we have current warnings all across. This big yellow region is a tornado watch. Basically, the ingredients there for tornadoes. So if you folks are in that area, please have precautions. But we're also it's not only tornadoes that we're seeing. We're also seeing multiple. Well, I'm going to just zoom out just so you guys can get a scope of what we're looking at. So all those yellow boxes that we're seeing are severe thunderstorm warnings. And that's basically a threat for straight line winds. We are in some of these areas in high risk. We could see winds of excess of 80 miles an hour. We could see large hail. I know some of these storms earlier today, one of them I saw in a warning picked up hail 2.5 inches in diameter. That's it's like a baseball hitting you at over 100 miles an hour falling out of the sky. So if you are in a severe thunderstorm warning, please take cover in the safest part of your house. It is, even if not tornado warned, severe thunderstorm, please take precautions. And we are seeing some storms start to make their way into the Chicago area. So you folks there, be on the lookout as these storms will be transitioning off to the west, as the SPC has stated in their mesoscale discussion. We will be seeing the storms that were currently right here are going to be making their way off towards the west into an area of extremely favorable environment. But actually, we're going to toss things over to Robert. And Robert, what do you got going on over there for us?
So we've got a few updates for our severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings. So first, the tornado warning we have the ongoing tornado warning just northeast of Memphis. That one has been extended. We have a new tornado warning in just west of Chicago. It's radar indicated along with that line. So if we could actually channel, or if you could get up on the wall and go to those storms, I got a few reports around there as well. For those storms. We've got a long line of tornado-warned thunderstorms, and there you go right there, from all the way from Cherry Grove and Shannon to the north, and then if you keep going south, you'll see that these storms are going to keep having that really distinct tornado threat all the way down to Leapertown, so west of there. So we're getting a little concerned for those of you near Chicago. We also have a few reports I'd like to go through, so I'll just head back to the desk real quickly and go through a few reports with you guys there. So right now, we do have a report for state troopers are closing off one of the major highways going into Covington, Tennessee. Many roads are blocked in the area. This is due to, again, situations where we have tornadoes that we have confirmed that have impacted cities. What you want to do is, if you are in those cities, make sure if you need help, of course, ask for help. If your house is fine and you don't need help, just wait. Don't go out. Don't go out looking for the damage. It's a really hairy situation out there. There can be a lot of downed power lines. We don't want you guys out unless you're going out to help a search and rescue, and in that case, you should be trained. Please don't get in the way of EMTs and personnel who are going to be going through very heavy damaging situations. So for those of you there, I just want to make sure you're aware of that. We are continuing to watch this situation all the way from the north. It's now going to be even going to parts of Wisconsin, all the way south to parts of Louisiana. So again, we have that tornado warning that we just talked about that was extended. We have a few more damage reports I'm going to go through here. The thunderstorm wind damage report in near Rusk County, Texas, which is a little bit southeast of DFW. That was it was around 6 p.m. Central Time. A report of trees down just east of Wayneville near Farmington Market 2496 at County Road 3162, and that was a report of trees down. We also have a tornado report. It was near, a tornado report. It was near the Memphis area. It was in Haywood County, Tennessee, and this is at 6:28 p.m. Central Time. And for this tornado report, we had an observed tornado, confirmed tornado, and we also had another report near in the Illinois area as well. So we have these updates for our tornado reports. I'm going to send things back to Chase to talk a little bit more about the setup here, and we're going to continue to keep you briefed on this overall tornado situation. Chase?
Yes, thank you, Robert. Looking at the SPC again, this was the mesoscale discussion I talked about earlier with these cells in Arkansas. Granted, this was about 20 minutes ago. This still is true for these cells. We had two discrete supercells work their way just from the east of Little Rock, working their way into Tennessee. As you can see, they're making their way towards the Memphis area, which dodged a major tornado earlier today, which we tracked on radar. But anyway, these cells are moving into that area, and they're moving into an increasingly favorable environment. So basically, the SPC is telling us these storms are continuing to organize, they're moving into a favorable environment, and we're going to be seeing these storms rotate and possibly drop some tornadoes. So if you folks are in the path of these cells, please be on the lookout. But the basis for this setup is we have, let me pull up their convective outlook because they'll go into more detail. But basically, we're in a severe weather outbreak. Basically, what we have going on is we have kind of two areas that are really interesting if you think about it. So up here in Iowa into Illinois, we have what we call high CAPE. And CAPE is basically a measure of instability in the atmosphere. Basically, what it is just the energy available to air parcels as they rise and energy available to thunderstorms. And we have CAPE values in the thousands up here, like what was it, Robert, like 4,000 or 5,000 earlier today? Yeah, very large values of CAPE. So that is so much energy available to these storms. And it usually takes maybe 1,000. It could take less than 1,000 to drop a tornado. So you can imagine what these cells are going through right now. We've also got an area of high shear. We've got probably 50, 60 knots of shear. They are on an exit region of a jet. That's 90 to 110 knots. Basically what an exit region means is it's an area that has better vorticity, basically rotation. It's basically creating better rotation so it helps these storms basically to better rotate and become severe. And then of course in the whole, even if you're not in high risk, even if you were in the moderate risk, we have been seeing tornadoes, we have seen tornado warnings in the moderate risk area. As it may not be as, you may have 5,000 CAPE up here in this high outlook area. In the moderate, you may be looking at 4,000. So there's really not a huge difference there. So if you are in the moderate area, please take precautions. Please be on the lookout because your setup is also looking very favorable. And then as you move further away from the moderate, we have enhanced where you still have very favorable conditions. And then we have slight marginal and then non-severe outside of the dark green, which is marginal, and then the light green is kind of non-severe. And then as we work our way south, we move into an area of what we like to call low CAPE, high shear. We may not have CAPE values of 5,000, which we saw up in the first bullseye, but in this high area, we may have CAPE values of 1,000, 2,000, maybe 3. But we have high shear. Basically, what that means is with the loss of CAPE, we have extremely strong wind shear elements. And wind shear is basically a change in wind speed and height as you go up in the atmosphere. Wind speed and direction as you go up in the atmosphere, So we have high shear down here. We have values, I'll look here in a second, but we can have values of 50, 60, 70 knots, which can make up for that deficit of CAPE. It's why we're seeing these cells start to really fire here down south, and why we saw that cell go through Little Rock, which I believe is in actually the moderate risk area. So like I said, even if you're not in the high, if you were in the moderate, please be prepared, please be on the lookout. And then as you work your way south, you know the ingredients aren't as great as a moderate, but that doesn't mean you still can't see a tornado. You can still see tornadoes, you still see severe thunderstorms, winds greater than 60 miles an hour, you can still see hail. So if you are anywhere in these highlighted regions, please take precautions, be weather aware, get weather alerts on your phone, on your weather radio. And then as we actually transition to tomorrow, this storm system doesn't just stop after tonight. It's going to continue to work its way towards the east, and we see a slight risk here as we get into Georgia, into Alabama, and a marginal actually down here in Tallahassee, if you can believe that. So yeah, this does not stop here. The ingredients are not as great as we see today down there, but other than that, you know, please be on the lookout, and we'll break down the high risk here. As you can see, we have, so basically what these percentage values mean, we have these two bullseyes. We have 30%, 30%. Basically that means is you have a 30% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of a certain point in that area. So if you have a dot right there, within 20, you have a 30% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of that. And then that's what and then you have 15, 10, and then as you go further away. And then this black shading is basically what we like to call a hatched area. And hatched area basically means you have a probability of seeing EF2 plus tornadoes, so powerful, violent tornadoes, EF3, EF4, and possibly even an EF5, within 25 miles at any given point in that area. And then as we go into the wind threat, basically a hatched wind area means you could see wind speeds of greater than 80 miles an hour within a 25-mile radius of a certain point. And then then the percentages means you have greater than 60 mile per hour winds within 25 miles of a given point, and you have 45% chance here and as you go away. And then, like I said, hail, we've had a hatched area for hail, basically large hail, and we've had large percentages for seeing any type of large hail in this region. But Robert, what's going on the radar right now?
Right, so again, we're watching this long track situation of many supercells. If we could just zoom out real quickly to get the state of play for the entire central United States, and we're going to just go through these one by one. So this is the farthest south we get. We have, we'll actually go to the north, the farthest north here. We go up to parts of Wisconsin. So yes, we have a tornado watch in effect for southern Wisconsin, Milwaukee included in that tornado watch. Several severe thunderstorm warnings. If we could just zoom into that line right there, we'll just go from north to south, and we'll just move down it. So our first tornado threat is this one right here. We have a tornado warning, and this is for Stevenson County until Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. This one's radar indicated. It's moving off towards the north and east. So those of you in Monroe, Wisconsin, we need you to be inside your lowest level interior rooms right now. Again, you're not under that tornado warning, but we want you to be taking those precautions just in case, because it is moving off towards your direction. So Stevenson County in Illinois, you have that warning for you until 7:30 p.m. Central Time. We also have many severe thunderstorm warnings, and don't take these for granted just because they're not tornado warnings. And also what we have right here, you see this line, this likely means that there's a large hail core in this storm because the radar is picking up something blocking the beam here. So that's possible with this as well. Just wanted to point that out. But we have many severe thunderstorm warnings with this line. They will bring winds up to 60, maybe even 70, 80 miles per hour. And I want to point out with that is when you're essentially, imagine you're driving on the highway, you have your hand stuck out the window. I've used this analogy before in FSU weather if you've seen me talk about this, but it's a really good way to talk about how strong these winds are. That wind hitting your hand, that's essentially what your house is going to feel. You want to make sure plants, everything you want outside to not get in your neighbor's lawn is indoors, and for some of these stronger lines, they can even cause damage up to equivalent of a weak tornado. So just because this doesn't say tornado, you want to make sure that you are still taking that seriously. We do have a tornado warning again here for Carroll and Stevenson County as well. So Freeport, a little bit north of that area of circulation right there, just north of the city of Forreston. But it's until 7:45 p.m. and this is an observed tornado. So not just radar indicated, observed. In that area right there, that could be large hail, but it also could be debris. We do know this is a tornado on the ground, so that lends me to think that it could be a debris ball there. And with like Chase talked about, this is a very high-end setup. You really don't want to be taking chances here. So south of Freeport, US 20 here, Rockford, west of Rockford, we're going to want you to be inside that lowest level interior room, put as much space between you and the tornado as possible. That's what I want to emphasize for those of you in that area. So right now, here's the line. We do know it's heading east. It's going to be at around 60 miles per hour. So Mount Morris, 7:08 p.m., Byron, 7:16, Winnebago, 7:18, Rockford, 7:27, and Harlem, Illinois at 7:30. So it's going to basically move east along this corridor here. Here's the Interstate 39 corridor. It will get to you eventually over the next roughly hour. So Freeport, we do have, again, Freeport until 7:45 for Stevenson County. I believe this is actually a new tornado warning for that area right there because they extend a little further north. North of the city of Foreston, Rockford, Illinois, getting a little bit concerned for you as well. So let's continue a little further south here. We have this another one, the city of Amboy here. This Interstate 88, Interstate 39, Interstate 80. City of Princeton, you're about to get hit by a large wall of wind here, but our main concern tornadically is southwest of the city of Amboy, northwest of the city of East Grove. East Grove, this is your area of circulation right in this area right here. We want you to be inside that shelter. If you have a tornado shelter and you can get there in 15, 20 seconds, get there right now. You need to be in that shelter immediately. This is a dangerous situation for you. Radar indicated, observed, no matter what. We want to make sure that you are taking that situation into precaution. I believe we have some breaking news we're going to right now to get southwest of Memphis. This is an observed tornado, yes. Breaking news for an observed tornado south of Marietta. It's a considerable threat. So again, when we say these terms like high-end setup, observed, considerable, we're not trying to hype. We're just trying to communicate to you as is a setup that is possible for strong and damaging tornadoes. So this area right here, if we could zoom into that tornadic risk right there, that area where it looks like there might be even a bit of a notch, if we could zoom closer into that. So yeah, right there, that is where we have, zoom in a little bit out, just so I can get the full nature of the storm. Yeah, that's great. So the city of Lexa, we have these areas, inflow winds going into the storm right there. Helena, West Helena, you should be okay. It's moving north of you, but again, we're moving towards the city of North Tunica, Crittenden, Lee, St. Francis, and Tunica counties. You are under immediate threat from this observed considerable tornado, and it's moving off towards the north and east. It could clip some of the southern Memphis suburbs, so we want to make sure that you are inside that lowest level interior room. I know not quite as many tornado shelters down there, so get inside that bathroom or closet that's on the basement or first floor as close to the center as possible, and that could be some debris we're tracking with the storm right there. Again, just north of US 49, west of US 61, and south of US 79, Marietta, North Tunica, Crittenden, Lee, St. Francis, Tunica counties. Take that shelter immediately. So if we could zoom out and go back to the north and go revisit those tornadoes in Illinois, because we have that line, several tornadoes right there. Again, we just got with those near Rockford. There are a few more just south of those as well. So again, by the Interstate 80 corridor we were just at, there was that other tornado warning right there, yes, thank you. Just southeast of Sterling. This is the Interstate 88 corridor, Interstate 39, West Brooklyn in the Lee County area. We want you to be inside your lowest level interior room. Up here, we do know you have a few more tornado shelters, so if you have one, go there now. It's until 7:30 p.m. Central Time. It's radar indicated for Lee County. Anywhere ahead of this storm, as Chandler said earlier, these polygons, the National Weather Service, they're trained to issue them for areas that are under that tornado risk. So they do their job very well. Anywhere in that polygon, you need to respect it. You need to be inside that lowest level interior room, inside this polygon. I know I said that phrase a lot because it's really easy to communicate what we're trying to say. Lowest level on the first floor or basement, interior room, put as much space between you and the tornado as possible. We repeat that so much because, of course, some people could be tuning on, tuning off. We want to make sure that everyone gets that really essential bite of information as quickly as possible. So Oregon, Nashua, 713, 717 for Hall, 723 for Flag, 727 for Rochelle, and 737 for Ottawa. Not all of you are under a tornado risk, but all of you are under a high wind risk, which can in some cases cause as much damage as a weak tornado. So it's really just a good idea if you're in front of this storm, including Mendota, Interstate 39, DeKalb, Northville, anywhere in that area, including the city of Rockford, we want you to be taking that shelter immediately. And take your family, take your friends, take your pets, make sure they're all going in that shelter with you, not just you, because we need everyone to be safe from these storms. We're going to put a track on this immediate tornadic cell threat for Amboy and Paw Paw, 713 for Amboy, 717 for Sublette, 725 for Brooklyn, Illinois, 732 for Paw Paw, and 733 for Radley. So this storm is moving a little bit off towards the north and east. If we could actually zoom into this storm, I just want to get a few more closer city names to that tornadic site for this circulation. Again, south of Interstate 88, west of Interstate 39, the city of Amboy. If we could zoom just right in on that there, close to the west of the city of Amboy. East Grove, Amboy, Sublet, Harmon, the tornado threat has passed you, but is moving off towards the north and east. Again, take that shelter now. You don't want to be taking the situation for granted. We're not trying to make you worried here. We're just trying to get you through this. And it's really easy. You just got to go inside that room, wait there for 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes until the tornado threat passes. Just wait until that warning expires, because these tornado warnings, these tornado threats can cycle very quickly. So even if it looks like it's not quite there, it can come back there very quickly. And we'll go to the next tornado warning south of here. But I just want to emphasize, for all of these tornado warning threats, stay in that room for around a half hour. It's going to be the best half hour you spent in your life. Best case scenario, nothing happened and you just spent a half hour in your bathroom with your family and your pets. That's fine, and nothing bad happened there. Worst case scenario, the tornado could impact your house and you just got saved by being at the closest center part of your house. That's why we want to really emphasize it. There's really not a lot of net negative here. If you take shelter from this tornado, you really need to be doing that. So we have another tornado warning. It's east of Maroa. This area of circulation looks to be east there now. It's for DeWitt, Macon, and Platte counties until 7:30 p.m. Central Time. North of Monticello, it's going to be for that as well. We also have an observed tornado warning here for Christian, Macon, and Shelby. Let's get back to that first one, and then I'll get to the second one in a second. So we have Monticello, excuse me. We have a city here in Florida we name Monticello. Sangamon, Monticello, Nixon, and DeWitt counties. We have an area, it looks like broader circulation here. It's radar indicated. But again, if you're anywhere in this polygon, just make sure you're taking those precautions, going to your shelter, that center room of your house, as quickly as possible, because it's really just important that you take this seriously. So for the track of this storm, Friends Creek, 713, 718 Santa Ana, 728 Sangamon, 731 Monticello, 736 at Mahomet, and these are all in your local time and central time as well. So that's for you. Let's go to that one just south of this tornado warning here as well. And again, if you're in just a severe thunderstorm warning, with today's kind of setup, just treat it as a tornado warning, because many of these storms can produce tornadoes very quickly. This is until 7:30 p.m. Central Time for Christian, Macon, and Shelby counties, and Taylorville. Really talking about you in Taylorville. You see, I talk a lot about these notches. We use these clues in meteorology on radars to try and really see where we have that best chance of a tornado. And one of these clues is where we have these winds sort of pushing, they push into your tornado here, and we call this in meteorology a bounded weak echo region. It's a fancy term. Essentially what it means is you see this area right here, and on our newest scan you can still see it, this area right here that's sort of lower radar values compared to the rest of it around on either side. That suggests that there could be a little bit of a notch, and you have that tornado threat there. So let's actually go to velocity and see if we can see anything on the velocity there, and not seeing some huge stuff that might be a little bit of range folding back there over the city of Taylorville, which is just a phenomenon that's showing erroneous radar or velocity values. But we do know for sure there is a tornado threat here, and it is observed. So even if we can't really put out exactly where that tornado is, that's what we say respect the polygon. If you're in that box, we know it's an observed tornado. We know this is a dangerous threat. We just want to make sure, just spend that half hour in that room, that closet, that basement, or that tornado shelter. You'll be thanking yourself if you did, if there actually was a tornado. And if not, it's worst case scenario and nothing happened, or best case scenario, but nothing happened to you, excuse me. Then you'll just have wasted 30 minutes in your tornado shelter. And honestly, that's not the worst case of all these things that could have happened here, because these storms are dangerous. So this tornado warning as well, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning, but because of the severity of these storms, I'm just going to say, if you're in that severe thunderstorm warning east of St. Louis, make sure you are inside and you're taking that shelter now, but we are going to get to these tornado warnings south of it. So we do have just southwest of Cape Girardeau, and this is near Poplar Bluff, west of Dykeston, and this is the US 55 corridor. I believe this is, Interstate 55. I believe this is Interstate 155 going out from Sykeston. But we have Dexter and Poplar Bluff, US 60 here, US Route 60. This is for Butler and Stoddard counties. It is until 7:30 p.m. Central Time. This tornado is radar indicated, but we do see an area of circulation right in there, right where Chandler is pointing it out for me. We do actually see that area of circulation very likely there. So it's moving off towards the north and east. Dexter, tornado precautions. That's your time now. You're just outside of this warning box, but at this point, we do see an area of circulation there, and looks like it might be some large hail, possibly maybe some debris, but I'm not completely convinced on that as of yet. But we do know, Dexter, you are in the line from this tornado. It is basically moving towards you, this potential tornado. So just take those precautions, go inside that shelter you have made for this kind of day, you have made for this kind of setup. It's important that you use it in a situation like this. As we move off towards the north and east, we have it at about 60 miles per hour, I believe. 7:35 p.m. for Dexter, 7:52 for Cantaloo, 8:01 for Sykeston, 8:10 for Bertrand, and 8:17 for Charleston, and that's in this area of Missouri. If we could zoom into the storm real quickly, I just want to see if there's any cities closer to this storm that I could maybe name out. If I name your city, at this point, it's just best if you get inside that shelter because, you know, if you're anywhere in this path, you want to be away from this storm and you want to be as protected as possible. So Dudley, Ash Hill, and Duck Creek, you should probably get in your shelters now as well because you are in this tornado warning. You're in the polygon. That's basically the highest level the National Weather Service can give us confidence. We have the watches where they're saying, well, there's a potential for a tornado, and they have the warning where it's saying, it's go time. You need to be taking that action now. They do have a warning above that called a tornado emergency, but they only issue that for the rarest of tornadoes. We have unfortunately seen 2 tonight, though, and I really do hope that we see no more because we don't need communities going through those kind of situations. Let's go through this one close to Memphis and then that one northeast of Memphis. We do know this one's a more considerable threat. It's observed, it's considerable, and it's until 8 p.m. Central Time. Could you give me some more details for this warning for some of the tags, if it has any extra tags on it or not? And while you're looking into that, I'll just talk a little bit more about what we're seeing on the radar here. So we have this area right here. This is a debris ball. We know with this kind of storm, there's no doubt about it. We have this drop.
Large and extremely dangerous tornado moving east at 55 miles an hour.
Thank you. So moving east at 55 miles per hour, so North Tunica, you need to be taking those precautions now. It's a particularly dangerous situation again. So I told you we have those tiers, right? We have a watch, a warning, and then for the rarest of situations, an emergency. The National Weather Service has added this sort of tag between your emergency and your warning called a PDS, or particularly dangerous situation, or warning, tornado warning. What they do for that is, because there are some situations where it's not the rarest of tornadoes, but it's still a very, very distinct threat. We know it's on the ground, and this is one out of, you won't see this very likely, it's still very rare. They will use that tag in case they don't want to go all the way to an emergency, but it's still a very considerable threat, and we know it's on the ground. So this is a PDS warning. North Tunica, we know this is a threat for you. We have a debris ball here. Yes. Yeah, thank you, Chandler.
So as of right now, what we do know, like you mentioned, it is a particularly dangerous situation. It is confirmed, radar confirmed and observed. So locations impacted include, you know, you mentioned Tunica, but even other places like Lexa, Lake.
Let's actually zoom in right there. That is a very clear debris ball. That is in this latest scan. If you could zoom in towards that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that is a very clear debris ball. So North Tunica, you need to be inside that shelter immediately. If we could zoom in here, I'll just name a few more cities closer to North Tunica. This is the Mississippi River here. US 61 is about to be crossing the river here. North Tunica, it is go time. You need to be inside that shelter now. Get as close to the center of your house as possible. If you have a basement, if you have a tornado shelter, you have about a minute or two. Get there now. Sorry, Chandler, keep going. If you have the cities.
Yes, Robert. So more information about this. So the impacts, you are in a life-threatening situation, flying debris may be deadly, causing for those caught without shelter, and in mobile homes as well. Mostly it's considerable just damage for all homes as well. So really, honestly, you need to get down into basement level rooms, honestly. Right. Like this is one of those situations where you need to really be in the safest location possible. If that means moving across the street to a neighbor that might have a basement when you don't.
Just in case he's not on the mic and y'all can't hear, but I'm going to repeat that for you guys. So we have, again, for mobile homes, that is a situation, a very distinct situation, where we don't really want you to be in them. We have, I know in some cases, in some parts of the country, there are a lot of mobile home communities, even across many different diverse geographic and local areas, and we know that this is a threat for a tornado impacting a mobile home. So if you are in a mobile home, if there's a sturdy structure you can get to within the next minute or two, go there now, because we have seen from studies, we have seen from history that being in a mobile home is not safe. So we could actually turn on velocity here, and I can show the couplet as well, because I'm almost certain there's a strong one, and that is it. That area right there, right along the river, that is a pretty much textbook velocity couplet where Chandler's pointing out with that arrow. It's moving directly towards North Tunica. So if you're in North Tunica, you need to be as close to the center of your house and as far to the ground as possible. That's your best chance for getting through this tornado unscathed. And again, this is just a dangerous situation. We're trying to emphasize, we're not trying to make you worried, but we're trying to emphasize mobile homes, not going to be not going to be a good situation through this. If you're driving on US 61 towards North Tunica from the north or south, not going to be able to get through this in a very nice shape. So you want to get off the road, get to a sturdy structure, get as close to the center of that structure as possible. And I know some people are like, well, why would I get into the structure? Because the tornado could flatten that. It's really a situation where the outside of the structure provides extra support for you. So if you're as close to the center as possible, you have extra support and extra protection from that tornado. Yes, if you can get underground, we want you ideally to get underground. But if you don't have that option, getting as close to the center of your house is as best as you can possibly do. So this one, I believe this one's moving a little bit more eastward, but it's North Tunica, South Haven, 8:03, and then we have Bartlett at 8:22, 8:30 p.m. at Lakeland. I do think it's probably going to miss the city of Memphis because it's moving a little more southeast of it, but it's important to mention here, it will still likely clip the southern Memphis suburbs. So South Haven, 8:03, and Piperton, 8:28. Germantown, also a major Memphis suburb, 8:19 p.m. It's going to be moving towards the north and east. So here's US 55. This is your outer loop. You have I keep saying U.S. highway. Interstate 55, Interstate 69 here. This is Interstate 40. The major Memphis metropolitan area. This is a dangerous tornado, and it can move. So even though it's on this track right now, moving off towards the north and east, it can move. So if you're anywhere in Memphis, you're really watching this tornado right now, and I would say almost get ready to get inside your shelter now, because this is a dangerous tornado as well. Likely going to impact at least parts of the southern Memphis suburbs. We really hope it does not, though. So we're keeping you informed. And really what this is showing you here is the storm's height. So these storms can really reach very high into the atmosphere, up to 30, 40, 50, 60,000 feet. And this is just showing the evolution of the storm as it goes up into the atmosphere. So it's just showing you how powerful this storm is as it's moving. Some of the most powerful storms we've seen on Earth. And this is I believe this is velocity here. It's just showing you how the winds are shifting with height and really just the structure of the storm as it goes further up into the atmosphere. So again, this is the couplet we're seeing right here. City of North Tunica is moving eastward towards you guys there, and an observed and considerable tornado threat for those of you across the Crittenden, DeSoto, St. Francis, and Tunica County areas. So again, this is a dangerous situation for those of you all there, and we do know that this is a very, very damaging situation and very, very concerning for those of you in Crittenden, DeSoto, St. Francis, and Tunica counties. So if we could just quickly revisit the last tornado warning as well in that area. We do have one off towards the north and east of Memphis. So again, this is Peoria. This is the area in Illinois, 74 and 474, Chillicothe, Jubilee, Eureka. This is the area, the storm's coming in towards you. No immediate threat for you, those of you there. We do have a new tornado warning from, it's just east of this, so it's for DeKalb, Lee, and Ogle counties. It's radar indicated until 8 p.m. So if you're anywhere by that Interstate 39, Interstate 88 corridor, that intersection right there, you need to be inside that shelter really, really quickly if you can right now, because it's coming towards you and it's going to pack a punch with hail, damaging winds, and also a very, very, very distinct tornado threat. Rockford, Illinois, under a tornado warning. So Rockford, Illinois, major regional center of that area outside of Chicago. We need you to be underground. It's just, you just got to do it. It's this time of year. You'll get through it. We'll get through it together, but we just need you to be underground. Or if you don't have underground as an option, get as close to the center of your house as possible. So Rockford, 727, really you got, I mean, I know that says 3 minutes Central Time, but it's really 1 or 2 minutes here. It's about to get on you. Harlem, 731, Belvedere, 740, DeKalb, 744, and Sycamore, 749. So it's moving off towards the north and east. It will get to you very soon. You don't really have a lot of time to think about it. Just go there now. We know many of you from this area. I am from Texas. We prepare a lot in the same way as you guys do. You just go there now. You've done this many times in your life. If you're not from this area, make sure you are going as close to the center of your house as possible, far away from the outsides of your walls here. Let's go back down to the one near Memphis, and then we'll revisit some of these up here because there are some new tornado warnings for Illinois. I just want to make sure the people down here are served as well. So it's northeast of Memphis now. It's close to Jackson, Tennessee. We have, again, that one close to Memphis is PDS, so very dangerous situation for those of you in South Memphis, but we're going to talk about this one right here. This is for Carroll and Henderson counties. I believe it's now northeast of Jackson, and this is Interstate 40. So if you're along Interstate 40, you're going from Memphis to Nashville or Nashville to Memphis, pull off the road. You don't want to be on the road. I've said this previously in previous broadcasts, but it's important to make sure that you know that even if there isn't a tornado threat with a storm like this, you're on the road, you're still going to get a damaging wall of wind and rain, and it's going to be hard to drive through. You don't want to be getting through that. But there is a tornado threat on top of that, so we just want you to be off the roads. It's really not safe to be on them right now on Interstate 40. Friday until 7:30 p.m. Central Time, it's for Carroll and Henderson counties, and this one is radar indicated. It also includes the cities of Waverly and Camden, Johnsonville, Waverly, Tennessee City, and Dixon. So 7:41 p.m. Camden, 7:49 p.m. Johnsonville, 8 o'clock p.m. Waverly, 8:18 p.m. Tennessee City, and 8:26 p.m. for Dixon. So that is your progression is moving off towards the north and east there as well. And we will continue to watch that storm as it progresses. I believe we do have that one near Memphis. Let's zoom out a little bit and look a little bit south and west of that. This is going to be our next little sort of round we're watching. We have a few more severe thunderstorm warnings back there. We're watching this potential for seeing a few more storms that could pop up tornadically. We also have some of these smaller storms just south of Little Rock that are not severe yet, that once they move eastward into that more favorable tornadic environment could pose a risk as well. But that is the case for all of these areas in the south. We've covered you all. So let's just revisit one more time those tornado warnings back in the north, because there are a few more that have popped up even just in the last 5-10 minutes since I've been up here and starting to go through them. So let's go back up to the top of the north here, and we have 2 tornado warnings in Wisconsin. Last time we visited this, we had 0. So these are 2 new tornado warnings in Wisconsin. The city of Janesville, major regional center south of Madison, Janesville, we need you to be inside your basement or tornado shelter now. Monroe, it's a little bit northeast of you, southwest of Janesville. That's the area of circulation we're really watching right there. Madison, it doesn't look like it's going to get to you right now, but these are storms that have a potential of producing tornadoes all down this line. So Madison, you're really going to be watching for this. You really want to be on your guard even if you aren't under a tornado warning yet. Janesville, it's for Rock County until 8:15 p.m. Central Time. This tornado warning is radar indicated. Even though it is, treat it as if it is an immediate threat to you. And like Chandler is emphasizing right there, that is that area of circulation we're watching. It's moving northeast towards Interstate 39, towards Janesville. So if you're in Janesville, like I've said, if you're from there, you've prepared for this. Just go there now, take that shelter, take those precautions. If you're not from there, then I've gone through it with you. Make sure you go as close to the center of your house as possible. If you have anywhere you can go below ground, you need to go there now. And I will also say, Chicago, those of you in Chicago, we are still about maybe 30 minutes to an hour out before these storms get there, but I am getting concerned that we have a consistent tornado threat down this line. I wouldn't be surprised if we do have tornadic activity by the time we get to Chicago. I want to quickly get to the one down by Champaign, then we're going to toss things off to Chase to talk about more about this overall setup. So we have Champaign, Illinois, this tornado warning here as well. This area of circulation, it's north of Lake of the Woods. It's moving off towards the northeast, towards Rantoul. It's 7:45 p.m. Central Time. It's for Champaign County, DeWitt County, McLean County, and Platte County, radar indicated. And again, take those precautions now. We have one just behind in the city of Nixon that also need to be taking those precautions. And let's just go a little further south towards Decatur. We have one more tornado warning. If we could just move the radar a little further south, thank you. Just west of Marrowbone for Christian, Macon, and Shelby counties until 7:30 p.m. So we will continue to keep you updated on all these tornado warnings throughout the night as this tornado event progresses. Again, we're just going to keep you stay tuned. If you're from one of these local areas, make sure you're also listening to your local news as they will focus more on your local area. We'll focus on the national setup as about to get to Chase here. But just want to say, we're going to get you through this. No need to be worried. Just stay prepared. And if there's a warning, go inside that lowest level interior room. Chase?
All right, Robert, thank you for that. We're going to take a quick look again at the SPC's convective outlook, as we do have 2 high risks surrounded by moderate, and then as you go out, you got enhanced, slight, and marginal, and then you have the very light greens, non-severe. But anyway, the big thing I want to talk about is now the National Weather Service. See this big area of yellow right down the corridor of the Mississippi River Valley. We've had tornado watches extended now from Illinois, Indiana, central Kentucky, now into majority of western Tennessee. And we actually have a couple of tornado watches up now into Michigan. So like we said, this event is not over. It is far from being over. And like I have said before, based on what the SPC is telling us, the environment is only going to get more favorable if these storms work their way from Illinois into Indiana, Michigan, into the lower Ohio River Valley, and into Kentucky and Tennessee. The environment is only getting better. And it's already in a really, really good environment. Now I'm just going to take one of our weather models. This is off College DuPage, and this, I believe, is the NAM model, and this was the 18Z run. We're just taking a look. So what we have right here is what we like to call a hodograph. Basically, what it is you have wind vectors, basically just wind speed and direction of wind at different heights. That's all it is. And you have it start here and it goes off into different points at different levels of the atmosphere. So you might have one here that's 1 kilometer up, and then 2 kilometers, 3. So that's how we plot a hodograph. And basically it can tell us a lot about the wind profile that we see in the atmosphere, which can tell us what kind of threats we could be expecting. And you can see this one's kind of curved. And when you have a curved hodograph like that, it means you have the wind speed as you go up in the atmosphere starting to spin. And that's supportive of tornadoes, which is what we have been seeing, which this verifies this model's forecast. So we are seeing a very favorable environment for tornadoes, and this also means we could be seeing straight line winds. As again, tornadoes are not the only threat we are seeing tonight. Granted, they're the one everyone wants to focus on, but please be on the lookout for those severe thunderstorm warnings because we are in a very favorable area for severe thunderstorms as well as large hail. And then we're seeing, Cape values. Now, Cape values kind of depend model by model because every model is different, but we are seeing Cape values of 1,500 on this model, which we were earlier seeing 4,000. So I lean more towards what the National Weather Service SPC put out, which were values in the couple of thousands. But anyway, that's kind of the setup we're looking at up towards the upper high risk area. And like I said, the setup for the high risk down south here is more of a low Cape high shear, basically meaning it does not have a lot of energy available, but it can make up for that deficit with high values of shear. And basically wind shear is changes in wind speed and direction as you go up in height. So at the surface you could have wind blowing this way at 10 knots, and then as you go 1,000 feet up you could have wind blowing completely the opposite direction at 50 knots. Just give you an example of some wind shear there, but we are seeing that high risk, and let's break down the high risk actually. We're going to go into it, and you see it breaks down category for tornado. We have an area of, you can see these 30% areas in pink. Basically what that means, you have a 30% chance of seeing tornadoes within a 25-mile dot, anywhere in that. And then as you go out, you have a 15%, 10, 5, and then 2. And then what this black shading means is what we like to call, meteorologists like to call a hatched area. Basically that means you have a chance of seeing EF2 plus tornadoes within a 25-mile radius of any dot in that black area. So that's what that means. Now we're going to go to our wind threat, because I know tornadoes is what everyone wants to talk about. We also got to talk about damaging winds because they can almost be as deadly as tornadoes themselves. We have a 45% area for seeing strong winds greater than 60 miles an hour. That means 45% chance of seeing those strong winds within a 25-mile point radius of anywhere. So if I pick a dot here, 25 miles of that, I could see those strong winds. We go out to 30, 15, and 5. Now, this black shading, again, is like to call a hatched area. Now, for thunderstorms, for severe winds, the hatched area means seeing wind speeds greater than 80 miles an hour. That is Category 1 hurricane type wind, if you can believe that, on land. And then as we go out, we lessen the percentage, but still, if you are in those small percentages, be on the lookout. And then this is for hail. Basically, we have a 30% chance of seeing hail within a 25-mile radius of any dot there, and then the shading means you have a chance of seeing large hail within 25 miles of any dot in that area. So if you are in any of these areas, please be on the lookout. And then I'm going to take a quick look at what we're looking at tomorrow because, like I said, this event does not stop tonight. It's going to continue into tomorrow. Granted, we are not seeing things as intense as they are today. We do see a slight risk here into southern Georgia and into southern South Carolina, a marginal risk, which is 1 out of 5. Into actually the Tallahassee area, bleeding into Alabama. And then we also have a bigger slight risk up here in the northeast. So you folks up there, be on the lookout as we are not seeing indications of as strong weather we're seeing today. However, we could see that tomorrow. Now, Evan, what's going on radar?
Well, Chase, there's actually quite a bit going on radar, and we're going to start with the most important cell, and that is this one just to the south of Memphis here. And this has a considerable tag on it, and it is an observed tornado right now. So for places right along US Route 61, that's where this debris ball is located. So you can see right about here, just to the south, or we're going to take a look at correlation coefficient. It looks like it's right about here. That's where we have that rotation. It looks a little broader than it was before, but it's right along US Route 61, and it's moving off to the northeast like this. So towards Banks, if you're in Banks, you want to make sure you're getting to that lowest level of your home, the most interior portion of your home. Like Robert was saying, even though that you might think that it's silly to go into that most interior portion of your room, it could be the best 30 minutes of your life. So you want to make sure you're heeding these warnings accordingly, because this is a very dangerous day that we've been experiencing here, and this is a very rare event, a rare high-risk day. And you can see why, because we do have this observed tornado on the ground, and this includes the counties of Crittenden, DeSoto, Lee, and Tunica, and that goes until 8 o'clock Central Time. So that's about 25 more minutes of this being a threat for you, and this will likely traverse off to the northeast like so, and we'll put timing on this as well. So you could see some of the cities that are in the path of this. Banks, it's coming to you within the next 10 minutes. I would say even less than that at this point, because these storms are moving very, very quickly at highway speeds, 50 to 65, maybe even 70 miles an hour in some cases. So this is going to be on you before you know it, so you want to make sure that if you can hear my voice, you are heeding these warnings accordingly. You're getting to that safest location, whether that be the most interior portion of your home away from windows, the interior lowest parts. So a bathroom away from doors and windows, a closet away from doors and windows. If you have a basement, please go there. That's probably the safest place you could possibly be if it's not a storm shelter. So if you can hear my voice, like I said, go to that safe place right now if you are in any of these counties. So DeSoto, Shelby, Tate, Tunica, that's where this storm is going to be heading. So places like Banks, Horn Lake, Germantown, Fisherville, and Hickory With. Looks like within the next hour or so, these storms will be heading towards you. So again, we want to make sure you're taking those tornado precautions right now. And a tornado is not only going to be the biggest threat, or that is the biggest threat with this, but it's not the only threat. We have the heavy rainfall, and the sun is starting to set as well, so you're not going to be able to see this coming. It could be also very likely rain-wrapped as well, so you want to make sure you're not going outside to try and spot this. You want to make sure you're going down into that lowest level of your home, most interior portion, not going outside to try and see this, because you may not be able to as we lose daylight, and it could be also wrapped in rain. But here is what we have going on. This is a very large event covering a wide swath of the U.S. right now, all the way from Chicago up towards Milwaukee as well, extending all the way down into places like Texas right now. So all these red outlined areas right now, those are all tornado watches going throughout the next several hours or so. So please keep it with us to give you the latest updates on this event. Let's take a look at what Chicago could experience in the next few minutes here, because this line looks extremely destructive. The entire line here essentially is warned for tornadoes. Now, this may not mean that a tornado may happen with this. Typically, when we have an event like this, where we have a very strong wind event like this, the entire line will become tornado warned, but it may end up being a straight line wind event. And I don't want you to think, oh, it's just straight line winds, there's no tornado with this, I can't see damage with this. Straight line winds can produce damage just as strong as a tornado. So we want to make sure that we are staying prepared for even an event like this, because you could see winds in excess of 80 miles per hour. Like Chase was saying, that's in excess of Category 1 hurricane strength. So these can easily do damage to your home and really cause some devastating damage here. So Rockford, Illinois, that's a major regional area, like Robert was saying, that is under a tornado warning. And really, again, this whole line is. So this particular warning, this is for DeKalb counties, and I will move further up to the north for Boone, McHenry, Ogle, it looks like, and Winnebago counties until 8:30. So that's almost an hour from now. So we want to make sure that we're staying prepared. And this is heading towards more populated areas here. And we actually looks like we do have an area of rotation here just to the west of Harlem. And that is, again, moving very rapidly off to the northeast. So if you're in Harlem, Roscoe, or anywhere in between, you want to make sure you're taking those tornado precautions right now. And especially if you're driving along I-39. If you're driving along I-39 here around the Rockford area, you want to make sure that if you need to, pull off the road, get into a ditch. Don't park under an overpass, because that can create a wind tunnel. The winds can be even stronger in those overpass areas. So if you can, pull off the highway. If you need to, get into a ditch so you can be protected from the winds that way. The best thing to do is to pull off the highway, find a sturdy structure to be in. So maybe that would be a convenience store or some place that will give you shelter for a brief time. Like Robert said, that next 30 minutes or so could be the best 30 minutes of your life, and you'll be glad you took that shelter. So in the next hour or so, or next half hour or so, places like, or if we could put those times back up there, looks like this is going to be heading towards the Kenosha area eventually here on the edge of the lake. And again, this entire line essentially is warned for tornadoes. So if you're in Boone County, McHenry, Ogle, Winnebago counties until 8:30 Central Time, you want to make sure that you're in that safe place. Even though it's 50 minutes, it could save your life. So Belvedere, Sycamore, that'll be coming to you within the next 10 minutes. I would even say it's even shorter than that because, again, these storms are moving very quickly off to the north and northeast, or east and northeast, rather. Chemung, it looks like it'll be heading to you within the next 15 minutes or so at 7:56, Harvard at 7:59, and Grafton at 8:07. So, again, these storms are moving very rapidly, 60, 70 miles per hour, and containing winds of stronger than that. 70, 80 mile per hour winds can do some serious damage. So we want to make sure you're heeding all these warnings here. And again, further off to the south, the warnings continue until 8 o'clock here for DeKalb and Ogle counties here. And that will push off towards the Chicago area. And again, once again, like Robert was saying, as this gets closer to Chicago, we're really going to have to keep an eye on this because of how populated, obviously, Chicago is. And if this entire line holds its strength, that could be a real problem for the Chicago area. But we'll take one last look at the Memphis storm because I'm sure that's still very powerful at this moment. So we'll go back down to the Arkansas, Tennessee area if we can do that. So we'll zoom out here on the radar. And again, this is a very expansive threat here. And this will continue throughout the overnight hours tonight. So please heed all those warnings. Make sure you don't put your phones on Do Not Disturb tonight if you are included in these risks for tonight, because you want to make sure you have a way of getting those warnings overnight and it could wake you up. I know a lot of people think that the tornado siren is there for that reason, to wake you up in the middle of the night. It's really not. It's there for people outside to hear the warning and not for you to wake up in the middle of the night and hear it that way. But here again is that observed considerable threat tornado warning for DeSoto, Shelby, Tate, and Tunica counties here. There is that area of rotation heading towards Hernando at this time. So you want to make sure you're seeking cover from this as well. And it's, again, moving very rapidly off towards the north and east. It's sitting right around this road right here. I am not sure which county, which state road that is, but it is going, it looks like State Road 3, that's where it is sitting right now. It's moving off to the north and east towards I-69, and also Route 301 is also in the path of this, so you want to make sure you're taking cover from this. If you, like I said before, if you need to pull off the road, don't try and outrun this because it will be on you in a matter of minutes here. These storms are moving very rapidly off to the north and east, and this will continue off in that direction. So Hernando will be on you in the next 10 minutes or so. I know that says 7:57, but we want to make sure that we're leaving ample time. Do not wait until that time to take your shelter. You want to make sure you're doing that right now because this, like I said, these storms are moving very quickly off to the north and east. Olive Branch will be towards you at 8:11. Collierville, Oakland, and Somerville also in the path of this at this time. And this will pass to the south of the Memphis region or the Memphis immediate metro, but there are definitely suburbs that will be affected by this. And you can see here, even there are counties around Memphis that are included in this, and this tornado warning will likely be extended further to the east as time goes on. Again, DeSoto, Shelby, Tate, and Tunica counties until 8:15. Please take your tornado safety precautions right now. Get to that safe place, lowest, most interior portion of your home.
Chicago storm. They're reporting 90-mile-an-hour winds in that storm heading for Chicago.
Okay, so we're going to go back up to the Chicago area. They're reporting 90-mile-per-hour winds with this as it approaches the Chicago metro area. Do you know which part of the storm that is? It looks like it's probably right around here.
Yeah, it's in the
coming into Sycamore.
Yep.
Okay, so it's this part of the storm right here. This is where we're getting perhaps 90-mile-per-hour winds with this. So this is heading towards the Sycamore area right now for DeKalb and Ogle counties. This is in effect until 8 p.m., and this is likely going to get extended further to the east. So we want to make sure that we're staying in that safe place even past the expiration of these tornado warnings here, because these storms are packing quite a punch as they head into more populated regions of Illinois at this hour. So again, this is quite the event we have here, so we want to make sure you're in that tornado safety shelter right now. Lowest, most interior portion, and look at how strong this line looks. It's even starting to bow out in some places, and when you get these little inflow notches, you can even see right to the south of Sycamore right now. That is where we perhaps have right around DeKalb. It looks like we have a little bit of an inflow notch, and that can sometimes generate a quick spin-up tornado in some of these more QLCS lines. It's a quasi-linear convective system. It's more linear in nature, a line, in other words.
Severe thunderstorm warning to the south of that Tornado warning has 90-mile-an-hour winds on that cell as well.
So you're this one right here.
Yes, that one right
Okay.
there as well.
So this tornado, this severe thunderstorm warning, according to Chase, has the potential for 90-mile-per-hour winds. And you can actually see behind me that threat is destructive. So we mentioned at the top of our coverage that once the winds get above 80 miles per hour, that's when you get that destructive tag on some of these storms. So that's why you're likely getting those emergency activated alerts on your phone, because this is a destructive storm cell right here, or part of the line right now, and that's moving right along Interstate 80 right now, headed towards Ottawa. It's on you right now, and it's heading further off to the east. So Coal City, you're in line for this next, and anywhere really to the south and west of the Chicago metro area, you guys are under the risk for this storm affecting you later on. So for Grundy and LaSalle counties until 8:30, that's where you could have those perhaps 90 mile per hour winds, perhaps with these storm cells. If we could put some timing on this squall line as well, just to see how long it'll take to get to the Chicago area. And again, this extends all the way, this line in particular extends all the way from southern Wisconsin all the way down into central Illinois, affecting so many people, so you want to make sure you're taking those precautions as we speak. Sycamore, it is on you right now. Sugar Grove within the next 10 minutes. Aurora 8:02, Elgin, excuse me, at 8:09, and Naperville at 8:11. So this is moving very quickly as well. Do we know how fast these storms are moving?
1 second. Also, the tornado warning to the south of that near Champaign is
Yes.
confirmed.
Okay, so let's go to that first for a second. We have a confirmed tornado report just to the north of Champaign, Illinois, and you can see that right here. It looks like it's just affecting Patton right now, and this goes in effect. This is in effect for Ford and Champaign, and I'm probably going to botch this name here, but Vermillion, or yes, okay. And we also have another tornado warning up to the north for Ford and Iroquois counties, and that's also observed until 8:30 Central Time. And you can actually see a little bit of that rotation just at the bottom of the screen there, right along, there it is, right there, about to cross Interstate 57 and US 47.
60 miles an hour.
And its cell is moving 60 miles per hour. So that is highway speed in most places. So you likely will not be able to outrun this. And like I said before, the sun has likely set in most of these locations. So you're not going to be able to see this with the naked eye. So you want to make sure that you are heeding all these warnings that we are giving you, so you are in that safe place. Cunningham will be on you right now. Belmont's in the next 10 minutes or so. St. Joseph at the top of the hour. Milford at 8:10, and Hooptown, I believe that's pronounced, in the next at 8:15. It'll be moving off to the east like this. But again, anything on this line can start to spin because we have such a conducive environment for these storms to start spinning. Even if it's not a discrete supercell, you can still get an inflow notch, like I pointed out before, on those linear lines. And that can, of course, spin up a quick tornado like so. So we'll take one more look at we'll take a look at this a rather impressive line, really paralleling I-55 right here. Again, for Madison, St. Clair, St. Louis, and St. Louis City counties until 8:15.
We have a radar-confirmed tornado now in the storm cell moving towards Aurora that's taking aim at Chicago.
Okay, so let's go up to the Chicago area.
65 miles an hour.
Okay, so this storm is moving at 65 miles per hour right now, and it is confirmed heading towards the Aurora area. Looks like right in here is where we're having that tornado possibility, right along I-88, headed towards the Chicago region. So if this holds together, this could really pose an issue for the Chicago area. So please, if you're in Chicago, please listen to what we are saying. This is a very dangerous situation that we are experiencing, and you need to take cover from this, even if it's not, even if it's not a discrete supercell. It is more of a line. You can still get, as we've been talking about here, you can still get these spin-up tornadoes. And I mean, look at how strong these winds are. Just almost, yeah, almost maxed out on our scale here. And this is really just going to plow right through the Aurora area and head towards the Chicago area along I-88. So if you're along I-88, please pull off the road. You do not need to be out there. If you are planning on going out tonight, please stay home, because this is not an event to be messing with. You do not want to be caught in this at any point, because at any point some of these storms can start to rotate and produce a tornado. So we're going to put some timing on this and see when it could affect some of the outlying areas in the Chicago area. So Sugar Grove, it'll be on you in the next 5 minutes. I would even say it's shorter than that at this point, because these storms are moving at 60 miles per hour here. Oswego at the top of the hour will be on you, and it will continue to move off to the east and really cause some serious damage here. And you can actually see, looks like right along US 20 and Interstate 90, that's where we could have perhaps a quick spin up, or up here near just to the east of Caledonia. That's another area that looks like it could potentially be rotating again, moving off to the east very rapidly. So for Boone, DeKalb, McHenry, and Winnebago counties until 8:30, you want to make sure you're in that safe place for the next 40 minutes or so, because it could save your life. You do not want to be messing with this. This is a very, very strong system here, and it does not need to be, you don't need to, I promise you, there's almost no reason for you to be out there. No reason is really good enough unless it is an absolute emergency. You do not need to be out in these storms, because they are quite powerful. If we could take one last look, or one more look, excuse me, at the Memphis tornado warning. I believe that is still in effect, and I believe it is still on the ground, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, I can't see from here. Oh no, it's still on the ground. There we go. Or it's still being warned, rather. So it is approaching the I-55 corridor here. Hernando is basically right on top of you right now. This is still a considerable threat for tornado. Right around here, that is where that couplet is. And for DeSoto, Shelby, Tate, and Tunica counties for the next 23 minutes until 8:15 local time there, you want to make sure you're in that safe place, because this is coming into your region. So along I-55, I-269, you do not want to be out in this right now. And it'll be heading up it'll skirt the southern regions of the Memphis suburbs. But again, these are very populated areas, and we've seen storms like this go through this area previously in the northern suburbs, causing extensive damage, very similar to this. So again, we want to make sure that we're seeking cover from this, taking those tornado precautions, get to that most interior, lowest portion of your home. If you're out and about right now and you're hearing my voice, you want to make sure that you're pulling off the roadway and finding a sturdy shelter if you can. If you can't, you want to make sure that you're getting out of your vehicle and getting into a ditch. You do not want to be in your vehicle when this comes your way. You do not want to be parking under an overpass. I know that that's a misconception that some people have, is to park under an overpass, because that could offer some protection above you. That does not really do a whole lot, because the winds just accelerate through that overpass and create a wind tunnel. So that can create even faster wind speeds. So Hernando will be on you in the next 5 minutes or so. It's basically right on top of you already. So if you are not in your tornado precaution shelter, get there right now. And then Olive Branch, it'll be on you at 8:12. I believe these times you need to be in your tornado precaution shelter well before these times get to your region. So you want to make sure that if you're in this area, just get to your safe shelter. That's really all I can say at this point. This has been a devastating tornado on the ground for a long time now. It's been a prolonged, long-track tornado. I can't even remember when this first started. It was probably back in Arkansas that this first started.
To the east of Little Rock.
Yeah, just to the east of Little Rock. So this has been a long-track tornado. So this has an extensive history of producing this type of warning, and of course that tornado as well. If I can get my bearings really quick, this is this is the same storm. My apologies. So again, until 8:15, that's when that warning expires, but I would not be surprised at all for that to be extended eastward as well, because that has been a recurring theme, especially with this cell just to the south of Memphis. We'll head up further to the north for New Madrid, Scott, and Stoddard counties. There's another tornado warning until 8:15. Not all that impressive on the velocity data right now. There may be a...
Management has confirmed the tornado south of Paxton.
Paxton, that is where?
That is on the current cell you're looking at, I believe.
Okay. So if we can zoom up, we'll zoom back to the one we were just looking at, because apparently we do have a tornado report there. So
yeah, it is on the border of Illinois and Indiana. That is.
it's on the border of Illinois and Indiana. That's where we're looking.
Yes.
So that is up near the Champaign area right now.
Yep.
And so we'll take a look at this. And again, yes, there is that tornado warning, again, until 8:15 local time. This is an observed considerable threat right now for Champaign and, again, I'm probably going to botch this name, Vermilion counties until 8:15 local time. There is that velocity couplet going towards Hoopstown or Hoopston right now. And again, this will be traversing off to the north and east, eventually getting to that US 41 corridor. So if you're anywhere in between the I-57 corridor and the US 41 corridor here along the Illinois-Indiana border, please get into your safe place right now. Get to that lowest level of your home, that most interior portion of your home. So you want to make sure that you're getting that blanket, that mattress to cover yourself from flying debris. Get to that bathroom, the closet. If you can't get to any of those and those are exposed to exterior walls, go to your hallway. That's probably the next best place to be. Obviously, the best place to be is going to be that basement, that storm shelter. But if you cannot do that, get to the bathroom, closet. If those are exposed to exterior walls as well, get to the hallway and get that mattress or the blanket, something soft and puffy to protect yourself from flying debris that may be out there. So again, here is the correlation coefficient. It's likely right in here, that tornado report that we have heading off to the north and east, and it's right in there where we have that drop in correlation coefficient. So that indicates that we have something abnormal, something that is not rain falling from or involved with the storm. That is likely debris being lofted up into the air and being spread due to these strong winds and tornadic activity. So that's how we can see this on the radar, that drop in correlation coefficient. That is what that is indicating, and that is moving very quickly, 50, 60 miles per hour, easy, off to the north and east. And again, this warning goes until 8:15 local time. So again, this is a very rare event that we have going here, and it will continue to progress overnight tonight, and I don't really see this stopping anytime soon. We just keep getting warning after warning here. And we're going to time this out really quick for you. Hoopston, it'll be on you in the next 5 minutes or so. I would say just get to that safe place right now. Rossville will be on you in the next 6 minutes. Hickory Grove at 9:11, Boswell at 9:17, and Fowler at 9:22. Those times are all local central time that we see on our screen right now. So please, please get to that safe place right now. Get to that lowest level of your home, that most interior portion of your home as we speak, because these are very, very dangerous cells moving very rapidly here in eastern Illinois right now. We'll take one last look at this line going towards the Chicago region, because I do want to see how that progresses as we head towards the Chicago land.
Chicago is now in severe thunderstorm warning.
Okay.
Wind speeds of up to 90 miles an hour and quarter-sized hail.
Oh, okay, so we do have now a severe thunderstorm warning, including the Chicago metro area, and that does have the threat for 90-mile-per-hour winds, perhaps. So again, this is really bowing out here. You can see how this is kind of like a backward C. It's kind of bowing out here. That means we have very strong winds associated with this. That's a very good indicator of that on the radar. So when we see this, we know that we're dealing with a very strong, damaging wind threat. And right now, it doesn't look like they're going to extend this tornado warning for DeKalb and Ogle counties. It expires in 1 minute here. So it looks like this is going to transition into more of a straight line wind threat as we head towards the Chicago metro area. But I don't want you to think that, okay, the tornado warning is going to expire, so it's just a severe thunderstorm warning. This is not an ordinary severe thunderstorm warning. This is likely a destructive severe thunderstorm containing extremely strong winds, perhaps tornado or hurricane strength. So we want to make sure that we are taking cover from this as if it were a tornado, even though there is no tornado warning issued for the Chicago metro area, because these are very strong winds, can easily do the same amount of damage that a tornado could. So please heed these warnings accordingly, and because these storms do have a history of producing extremely strong winds, heavy. Okay, yep, the tornado warning just ended for DeKalb County here, as we have now reached the top of the hour, 8 p.m. Central. We do have more tornado warnings up to the north here along Interstate 43 for Jefferson, Rock, and Walworth counties until 8:30. And I'll move over here so we can take a look at what we potentially have. And it looks like we do have perhaps a slight area of rotation. This is radar indicated, so it's not an observed, confirmed tornado. However, we do want to treat this as it was one. So if you are in this area, respect the polygon. I know that's something we've been saying a lot here tonight. We want to make sure, especially with this type of event, respect the polygon, get to that lowest level of your home. If you're in any of these red boxes here, any of these red polygons, you potentially have the threat of seeing a tornado on the ground. And it looks like we do now have one observed here for Jefferson, Rock, and Walworth counties here along Interstate 43. So Elkhorn, you are under the risk of this. Janesville, it has just gone through your town as well. And this goes for the next half an hour to 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And yes, it does look like it has a lot of hail in there, as Chandler just mentioned. So tornadoes are not the only threat with this. Strong straight line winds are a threat with this as well if you do not have a tornado warning issue for you right now. And of course, that threat for some very large hail. We had, I believe in Iowa today, we had some very large hail, perhaps baseball size or larger. So I don't think that's going to be a threat with this straight line or squall line threat that we have right now, but still could see some hail damage with this as well. But the tornado threat is definitely heightened for the I-43 corridor here and places to the north and east of that as well. I believe now, Chase, we're going to take a look at what you have going on. We'll take a look at power outages. I know that's another threat that we have going on tonight.
Yes, thank you, Evan, for all that update on what's going on. As you can see, we've got power outages all across the region. We've been having this severe weather. We had, severe weather in Iowa earlier today. However, we do still have it there. But where that line is right now, working its way towards Chicago, let's break it down a little bit. You can see county by county as these storms have worked their way towards the east, power outage numbers have started to go up. You see, started out earlier today and it's just worked its way towards the east, and we are seeing those power outage numbers go up, and we will continue to see those go up. So if you know anyone in these areas, anyone in Henry County, if you know anyone in Kane County, McHenry County, Lake, Cook, DuPage, please, please, please send them a message like, hey, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning, tornado warning, whatever it may be, because these numbers maybe not have updated yet, or there might have not been reports because the storms are currently over in this area and there might not be current updates on the power outages up there. So please, as an extra precaution, please do that. Memphis, as you can see, we had that large tornado earlier today work its way just north of Memphis. As we can see, there's currently half the customers in that county, more than half the customers in that county are without power right now. And we have a tornado south into northwestern Mississippi, which is working its way south of Memphis. See, we're starting to see some numbers trickle in with people without power over there. But we're going to zoom out a little bit. And actually, this is on the Weather Prediction Center's page, and kind of take a look at the front that's actually causing all this severe weather. So you have a very strong low pressure system here. We have what was a warm front, which is now stationary and warm at the same time, north. So what that does is it pulls warm, moist air from the south out ahead of these storms, getting that air very moist. One of the ingredients you need for severe weather is moisture. And then we have this cold front, which is providing a mechanism, something to initially push the air upwards, get it going. And once it gets going, it's just going to keep rising and create these severe thunderstorms. And we have that mechanism right there, and it's slowly going to work its way towards the east as we go out throughout the hours tonight and into tomorrow. But we're going to look at we have a current mesoscale discussion. First one I'm going to look at is concerning cells in Louisiana. We're seeing all the severe weather in Tennessee, northern Mississippi into Illinois, but we're actually seeing some severe weather get going into Louisiana, working its way from Louisiana into Mississippi. And basically what the SPC is telling us here is we have a cluster of very small and discrete cells working their way from Texas and Louisiana, and they have a history of producing large hail. Some of them have been producing hail of up to 1 3/4 inches, which is huge. Imagine, something 1 3/4 inches, which would possibly be a golf ball, probably bigger than a golf ball, coming at over 100 miles an hour straight down on top of you. Not something you want to experience outside. You'd much rather be in your house. That way you're safe. But we're looking at these cells start to work their way towards the east, and basically they're moving in to an area of a favorable environment where we could see them produce severe thunderstorm conditions, or we could see them produce tornadoes. So we're transitioning now into nighttime mode, so it's going to be harder to see these cells. So please, if you are out ahead of these storms that are working their way through western and central Louisiana, be on the lookout because they'll be making their way into Mississippi and parts of Arkansas, and they could produce some tornadoes. Now we're going to look at, they issued another mesoscale discussion, which I have not had the chance to read yet, but I'll read it with you folks here. All right, this is talking about the line of storms we have moving into the Milwaukee, the Chicago, the Aurora area, and now we could see them work their way into South Bend, Indiana. So we're seeing tornadoes, wind damage, large hail likely, significant threat of damaging winds. Winds we were seeing on radar of up to 90 miles an hour. High-end Category 1 into Category 2 type condition, hurricane conditions. I know you folks up there have never really maybe experienced a hurricane hit you there, but you have seen photos of what they do down to places that get hit such as Florida or over the past couple of years or Texas or Louisiana. Picture that coming right at you, 90 mile an hour. So, and they're moving into an extremely favorable area where they will continue to either strengthen or keep their current strength, and we could see tornadoes and we could see large hail. Now, looking at the National Weather Service, we can see, as I have said, those tornado watches have been extended. We have tornado watches from eastern Texas into northwestern Louisiana, eastern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, eastern and central Tennessee, eastern and central Kentucky, eastern Missouri, south central Illinois up into northeastern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, majority of Indiana. We actually have a few severe tornado watches up into Michigan now. So this is a large historic event, as we have been saying for the show. And we're going to take a look at radar really quickly. I've got radar pulled up here. We're going to take a look at the Memphis cell right now. The current warning on this is 8:04, a confirmed tornado was located near Hernando, moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. We could see a damaging tornado, $half-sized hail, and 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So it's not only the tornado is a main threat, but you can also see 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts and large hail. And this will be affected areas such as South Haven, Germantown, Orange Branch, Horn Lake, Hernando, southern areas of Memphis, Lewisburg, Lynchburg. So if you're in any of these areas, take cover now. And it has been on the ground for, feels like an hour now. It started out in just south of Little Rock into the Stuttgart area. But now we're going to take a look north into southern Missouri. We have a tornado warning for a cell that is working its way into southern Illinois right now. It is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. Still, tornado warning, take precautions. Just because this is radar indicated doesn't mean it's not on the ground. If tornado warning means treat it like it is on the ground. It just may not have been spotted yet. It is moving east at 55 miles an hour, and it was located near the city of Haywood City, near Sikeston, and it was radar indicated tornado and quarter-sized hail, and of course you have the impacts that come along, such as flying debris. We also have, this includes interstates 57 in Missouri near mile marker 1 and interstates 55 between mile marker 66 and 91. So if you're in any of those areas right now, take cover or pull off the road in your car, and as a last resort, get in a ditch. And it will be moving towards areas such as Blodgett, Diehouse, Commerce. You all are in the path. Please take precautions. And then we're going to look further north at a confirmed tornado earlier. It probably still is confirmed. Up into Illinois, working its way into Indiana. Let's see what the tag is on this tornado warning. And it was radar indicated the storm has a history of producing tornadoes. So the initial tornado that we were tracking up there might have lifted, but the storm could be doing what we call a recycle. Basically, it's recycling, getting a new wall cloud, which is what tornadoes form out of, getting the energy ready to go, and could drop another one at any time. Cells that have a history of producing tornadoes and events like these often produce multiple, not just one. They're called cyclic supercells. Basically mean they produce tornado after tornado after tornado. Anyway, this storm is located 12 miles east of Paxton, moving northeast at 40 miles an hour. Radar indicated rotation at this point. However, it does have a history of producing tornadoes, like I have said. The main impact will be flying debris. You can also see heavy wind gusts. And locations that are in the path of the storm: Milford, Sheldon, Cissna Park, Stockland, Wellington, and Claytonville. You are all in the path of the storm, so take your precautions, take cover now until this storm has passed. Now, we're going to look up more towards our Chicago area. Let me pull up a radar up here. And we are seeing This was this line of storms that had 90, quote me, 90 mile an hour winds moving into the Chicago area, which, like I said, is Cat 1 bordering Cat 2 like conditions. As you can see, I'm pulling up the warning right now. It is located near Belliot, near Sugar Grove, and near Yorkville to near South Streetner, moving east at 60 miles an hour highway speeds. You're seeing you can see 90 mile an hour wind gusts, 2-inch hail. 2-inch hail. That's like a softball at this point. Softball, right? Softball at this point coming right at you. And life-threatening situation, flying debris at this point. Any loose objects outside will be thrown up in the air. Mobile homes can be heavily damaged, and homes and businesses may sustain roof and window damage. So it will be near Aurora and State Charles around 8 o'clock, Napersville, West Chicago, Shorewood, Warrenville, DuPage Airport around 8:05 Central Time. And of course we have Bolingbroke, Downers Grove, Lombard, Romeyville, Addison, Glendale Heights, Woodridge, Glen Ellen, Lockport, and Darien around 8:15. So if you're in these areas, take precautions now. 60 miles an hour, that is a mile a minute. So it is on its way. It will be in it's already probably through some of these areas. So you folks out in the path of this severe thunderstorm warning need to be taking precautions and taking your safety precautions from these, because they can also produce little spin-up tornadoes that the National Weather Service doesn't have time to indicate have come down, or they might be late on the warning, because sometimes these squall line cells are really hard to try to find where the individual rotation couplet could be. When you compare that to a discrete supercell, which is what we were seeing down near Memphis, we're seeing a discrete cell by itself. It's a lot easier for us to kind of pick it out. But still, severe thunderstorm warning, take your precautions, because this is a life-threatening situation. Now this is the cell that is moving. This is another warning on this line of storms, which we could be seeing become maybe a possible derecho event. It's become a pretty strong squall line. You can see it start to bow out. But anyway, on this warning, we are seeing severe thunderstorms located along Belliot near Sugar Grove, 90 miles an hour, moving towards these areas. So be on the lookout if you are in the path of these storms. And then we're going to move up into Wisconsin. Can you believe that? Wisconsin. Milwaukee, if you are in Milwaukee, get into cover now or know where you're going to go, because I guarantee you this severe thunderstorm warning is going to get extended for you folks over there. Let me pull it up on radar. Let me pull up the warning. So we are seeing a severe thunderstorm warning for these counties in Wisconsin. Severe thunderstorms located along the line extending from Cottage Grove to Clinton near Kingston, moving east at 50 miles an hour. 60 mile an hour wind gusts and penny-sized hail. 60 mile an hour winds is still enough to do damage. You're talking strong tropical storm force conditions. And we're seeing it's radar indicated. Expect damage to roofs, siding, and trees. And it will be nearing places as Waukesha, New Berlin, Brooksfield, Muskogee, Antioch, Whitewater, Pewaukee, Elkhorn, Heartland, Delphine, Jefferson, Lake Geneva. So you folks need to be taking your precautions and need to be prepared for these storms. Now we're going to look at some of these tornado warnings. Like I said, these squall lines tend to spin up tornadoes very quickly. As we do have a tornado warning extending here, the warning is for this polygon right here. Is capable of producing a tornado. Doesn't mean there already isn't one on the ground. Is moving northeast at 55 miles an hour. It was located near Cambridge. Is radar indicated. So again, it just might not mean it's spotted yet. And we can see flying debris, damage to homes, and locations that are going to move into Deerfield, Cambridge, Lake Ripley, Lake Koshkonong. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Utica, Rockdale, and Busseyville. All right. And anyway, I'm going to be. So looking at some of these tornado warnings further south. Again, these are more just telling you the conditions are there. Be on the lookout. This is a radar-confirmed tornado, actually, just to the southwest of Milwaukee. So I'm actually going to toss it over to Chandler to talk to us about that current storm over there just to the southwest of Milwaukee.
Well, that's right. Actually, we were going to first do a quick severe weather overview segment. But actually, since this change up, we're going to actually cover now Milwaukee real quick, because it is now confirmed, and we have seen a little bit of debris damage. But once we get this set up, we'll actually show you guys the seriousness of the situation. But right now you're seeing our radar upload, and quickly we'll move over to Milwaukee and look at the dangerous situation over there. So right now we have a severe thunderstorm warning out ahead. this tornado warning. The tornado warning is observed. Counties are Jefferson, Rock, and Walworth, and it's valid until Friday, 8:30 Central Time. So this is a serious situation for those in the southeastern Wisconsin region. So those near Milwaukee, Kenosha, you guys are under the gun for this possible line of strong storms that has had the history of producing a tornado. And right now, the tornado warning has that observed tag. So it is a serious situation. We'll continue to watch it as it progresses eastward. Actually, let's see if we can get a time frame on this. See when we could expect it to reach that Lake Michigan area, Evan. Right. All right. So as he draws this real quick, another thing to note is that while this is very messy appearing for the radar, it is still notable that there's a lot of these little intense spots and not so intense spots. And the reason why we like to highlight that is because for the most part, with these lines of storms, they can rise in intensity and lower in intensity quite quickly. So it can be a little bit uneven, we'll say. You can have one spot of the line that's very strong, one spot of the line that's not, and usually these tornadoes correspond with that. So you can have a moment where it's very strong and all of a sudden a tornado pops out. And again, this one has had a history of producing tornadoes. And right now we're looking at Burlington, 8:16 p.m. You guys are under the gun. New Berlin at 8:27. You guys are under the gun, as well as West Allis and Kenosha and Wind Point. You guys are under the gun here in the next 10 to 20 minutes. So again, if you guys are anywhere within the southeastern Wisconsin region, you guys are seeing this line of storms moving through that has been producing tornado. We have an observed tag for this storm. And even if this, for some reason, downgrades and it's just back down to a severe thunderstorm warning, that is still a serious situation because severe thunderstorm warning for this situation is describing winds of upwards 70, 80 miles per hour. Like Robert was mentioning earlier, that's whenever you're sticking your hand out the car on the interstate, that's the kind of winds that you can expect with this type of storm. But again, this has a observed tag on it. The warning is valid until 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and it's for counties of Jefferson, Rock, and Walworth, and it's heading towards Milwaukee. So this is a serious situation, but we can now transition back to like a closer overview of the broad setup that we're experiencing here along the Mississippi River. Evan, are you ready to bring up that overview real quick? Actually, we're going to toss things over to Aaron, who will actually break down the overview as well.
That's right. We have, of course, that high risk now. It's still in effect for much of Tennessee into Mississippi, as well in parts of Arkansas as well, with that high risk warning still. They have expired the one off to the north, so however, there's still at least the chance of severe weather still, as we have that derecho or that straight line wind event that's going on near the Chicago area with 90 miles per hour, at least that's been tagged by the National Weather Service there. So again, very serious. It doesn't take a tornado to produce all of that damage here. So again, we have that whole swath of that high risk there that we had earlier there with the two areas near Illinois and then down into where it's currently the high risk area near Mississippi into Tennessee and also into Arkansas right now. But again, the severe weather coverage or the severe weather can happen anywhere within these outlines. So it can happen as well in the enhanced or in the moderate area as well. So don't keep your guard down, keep your guard up here as of course there's severe that can happen for the rest of the night or so as we continue on. So the biggest risks here that we're looking at, the biggest events that we're going to potentially have to look out for are those tornadoes. We've seen several of those over the past few hours or so tonight. That's potentially the highest risk, with several large damaging tornadoes are possible throughout this entire area. Large hail is also possible as well, where we've seen potentially almost golf ball sized hail reported in several areas across much of the Mississippi Valley. Also, those high winds are also a big issue there with that 90 mile per hour plus tag there on that severe thunderstorm warning near the Chicago, Illinois area. So again, we have to watch out near the windy city there. And then for flooding, flooding is not as much of a risk here, but still it's possible. Make sure you turn around, don't drown if you do see a puddle. That's perhaps if you don't know the depth of that. So don't drive through these puddles you might see on the road here. because again, it could potentially be too high for your car to drive through. And again, we are underneath that high risk there, still currently on the Memphis area, upwards of the northwestern portions of Mississippi, and also extending into Arkansas. So here's the available instability. This is that CAPE, the the CAPE values here across much of the southeast there. We have those highest values here, and what that basically means, that's the instability that these updrafts can actually take advantage of. These storms can continue to build here. Now, it is weakening as we progress throughout the nighttime hours, and that's naturally just due because we have less energy in the atmosphere from the sun here. So those storms should eventually wane down throughout the night. However, we still have the chance for severe weather even through 3 o'clock in the morning here. We see that line extending from Jackson, Mississippi, all the way through Birmingham, Huntsville, through into the Smoky Mountains, and also arcing all the way up through Ohio and Pennsylvania, where they still are under the gun potentially for some severe weather. And here's one ingredient why we have the reason why we have severe weather today is that's because we have the wind shear. So what this basically means is that how efficient can these actual updrafts, how can they rotate? And we see that, at least out of the south here near the surface, we have the 850 millibar height there. We have the winds streaming in from the Gulf here upward to the north there, and at least at the 500 millibar height, which is probably a few miles or so above the earth there, we have winds howling, I should say, out of the west there, that jet stream that's plowing through much of the upper levels there of the atmosphere. What that's allowing to do is allowing for that efficient rotation of these updrafts to then be bent over and then down. It potentially could extend down to the ground, and that's where you could potentially form a tornado out of that. So again, that's one ingredient. Here's the water vapor here. It's clearly defining where we have that area, that system that we have across the nation's heartland. We have that area of low pressure there, right around Nebraska, spinning right about here where my finger's at. And that's, again, that's also arcing around to Chicago and extending all the way as far south as Houston, Texas there, where, again, we still are looking for severe weather across this line here. Where you see those oranges and those yellows, that's where we have the coldest cloud tops. That means that they're extending a lot further up into the atmosphere, and that gives us a good indication of how strong these updrafts are to actually push that thunderstorm up and potentially even break the stratosphere, or get into the stratosphere in some cases if they're really strong here, and at least for some cells. So over the next several hours or so, we expect these storms to continue to push off towards the east, into Cincinnati, into Nashville, Memphis, all across much of the deep south. We're also, you can't forget too, we also do have that blizzard potentially in those snowy conditions upwards of near Iowa, where they just got hit with the severe weather. So it's quite the difference here in weather. We have that snow coming right behind it, right behind the cold. The low pressure area is really cranking all that air, and at least the cold Arctic air from Canada, down here into the plains. And as we go through at least tomorrow morning or so, into about mid-morning or so tomorrow morning, we should expect that line of storms to continue to push off and weaken as they make their way further off towards the east here. Well, at least what it's going to do is it's actually going to bring a marginal risk to our specific area in Tallahassee, and actually a slight risk as well just to the north there, and we'll cover that in just a moment. But as we continue throughout the day tomorrow, through about the middle afternoon or so, we expect that area to move, eventually that line of storms to move off the eastern seaboard. We could potentially see a lingering shower or two here across the Panhandle and then to Georgia and Alabama. But overall, at least this shouldn't be as robust as we're seeing tonight across much of the area. And then we'll see those eventually dwindle down, especially as we get into the late hours tomorrow afternoon. And speaking of tomorrow, here is that slight risk I was mentioning earlier here across southern Georgia into southern South Carolina there, where they are under the gun for potentially a 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather, in other words. And at least in the Tallahassee area, we're staying just barely on the fringes of a marginal risk. So do make sure to keep weather aware, as you could potentially see a stronger storm or two across, at least across the Tallahassee area tomorrow. But overall, we're not expecting the robust amount of activity as we've seen earlier here across much of the south. And that also, we do all that slight risk as well. It's in effect for much of New England and into the northeast. So Washington up to about New York and into Boston, where they could potentially see also a slight risk. So about a 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. So kind of digging a little bit more of a deeper dive here into that severe thunderstorm categories was here. So the base criteria for a severe thunderstorm going to be issued is 58 mile per hour winds and or 1 inch or quarter-sized hail. That's the criteria we use, at least the base criteria. So that when we see a storm that does reach any of these criteria here, that's where we have the potential to be issued a severe thunderstorm warning for that general area. And then the second step here is we have a considerable severe thunderstorm risk where we get winds up to 70 miles per hour and or 1.75 inches at least in diameter here, and that's a golf ball sized hail. And we've actually seen quite a few of these over the past several hours or so into the night there with these storms continuing to plow through much of the Mississippi River Valley. And then probably the most extreme is the destructive tag for these severe thunderstorm warnings, and that's 80+ miles per hour. And as I actually want to quote Robert earlier, these particularly are actually almost freeway speed. If you go if you on I-10 there, you stick your hand out the window, that's about as much force as you're going to see on your wall, on your outside walls, potentially with these severe thunderstorm warnings. And then also, this is as much as 2.75 inches in diameter. So that's baseball-sized hail. That's like this, folks. That's pretty large. That can do some serious damage to windows, cars, etc. So again, that's about 2.75 inches in diameter. And we've actually gotten close to that too in some cases. So where can you actually find these warnings at? Well, normally the National Weather Service does post these emergency alerts here on your phone. You might have seen them from time to time here in Tallahassee, but especially across the southeast there where we have that severe thunderstorm warning potentially could be issued in that way. And you want to treat a severe thunderstorm warning as well like a tornado warning, and you want to go to an interior portion of your house, because especially with tonight with the high risk there, we have the potential for these very strong and devastating storms. So a little bit more on the terminology you might hear tonight across at least our particular live coverage here. So a watch. So to get an analogy here, if you have a taco, right? If you have a taco, let's say a taco watch, you might have the ingredients or so before you create the taco, but you don't quite have, the taco's not there. You can't eat the taco yet because you haven't put the ingredients together. The warning here, and the emergency I should say, are when you actually have the taco. Like the taco, you can eat it right now. It's physically in front of you. And what that means is that the ingredients are in place and they have at least potentially produced a tornado. And specifically with an emergency here, that means that there is a confirmed tornado either on the ground, it's either a particularly dangerous situation, and that means that this is going towards a potentially populated area where this can threaten several lives, and this is probably the most severe one. But again, if you're ever in a warning or emergency, make sure to go to the safest place in your house here. And we want to stress out in FSU weather that you want to go to an interior portion of your house as much as you can at the lowest level. So that would include the hallway in this diagram, the hallway, the closet, or the stairs here, underneath the staircase I should say. Really anywhere where you're not at least with an exterior wall. And that's because any debris that could be flying could knock over these walls, it could penetrate through the walls, and that could potentially threaten your life as well. And at least another advice here is actually try and get like a mattress or even a bicycle helmet too to cover your head and cover your body, because even if you are spot is potentially could get breached by some debris, and you want to make sure you have a potential another way of protecting yourself as well. So again, you don't want to be in the kitchen in this diagram, the living room, the dining room, the garage, or the bedroom, and you certainly do not want to be on the deck there because you'll be blown away by a tornado if indeed a tornado does strike this place. And again, the best place to go in this situation is to go to a basement, but many houses here, at least in Florida, don't have basements, and at least a lot of them don't have basements as well if you're across much of where we're seeing all this severe weather. So if we can actually go to pull up radar here to show up at least where we're seeing all that severe weather right now. Primarily it's occurring across much of the Mississippi River Valley, where we have actually a lot of tornado, thank you, Nico, where we have, again, the chances of those severe weather warnings here. So here's the velocity, at least near Peoria, Illinois. Actually, I should say thank you, Evan. With this, we have those severe thunderstorm watches here in effect for Illinois. Those warnings as well in effect for this area. And remember, this actually was in that high risk as well, but now it's been downgraded. But that doesn't mean we won't see those severe weather continue on across the area. We have the tornado watches still in effect for the greater Illinois, into Indiana as well, extending up into Chicago and into Wisconsin. So if we actually go to that northern cell there, the northern tornado warning, just northwest of Chicago there, you're right, they're there. We have a tornado warning just to the northwest of Chicago, and it looks like it's actually moving. Is that southeastward almost? Yeah. So tornado warnings in effect for Jefferson, Rock, Walworth, and counties there, and it observed. So I mean, somebody actually seen it in person. So it's not radar confirmed. It is somebody's actually seen it in person. It means it's actually more serious because we have confirmation of it. And this is moving towards the east-southeast here, so kind of an odd direction for a tornado to go here. But it's moving, kind of getting close to potentially the Kenosha area, so they'll have to watch out and see how this evolves. So yeah, on velocity here we have, if you can zoom in a little bit closer to where we have potentially that tornado, that rotation there. On velocity, you have there. Let's see, I'll move out over here actually. So it looks like maybe we have a little bit of broad rotation there near Whitewater. And that's what the NWS has probably seen as well, and as to, at least to help with the evidence as to why we tag this with a tornado warning. It is moving right now over Whitewater and moving off to the east-southeast. So Burlington, across Interstate 43, and Delavan need to be taking shelter right now because this tornado, which has been observed, is coming towards your area. Okay, so I've just been informed by our producer here, Evan, that they just dropped the warning here. So now, but again, we're still in that severe thunderstorm warning across this area. So still stay in that shelter because we could have really strong winds here. And actually, not too far away from here, we've had those winds, at least those severe thunderstorm warnings that's been tagged with those winds upwards of 90 miles per hour. That's really fast. That's faster than freeway speed. So again, we really need to take really serious here as we continue out throughout the night. And here actually are about to enter the city of Chicago, if not actually entered the city by now, crossing the I-90 corridor there into Chicago. We have those straight damaging winds there occurring along this line. And this is the particular line that's been tagged for 90+ mile per hour winds there in this whole severe thunderstorm warning. So if you're anywhere near Gary, Indiana, all the way north towards the Wisconsin-Illinois border, you want to make sure you take precautions and so to that interior room because this Boeing feature you see here, that we're outlining right now, that indicates that the winds, at least immediately right there, are pushing the storm a lot quicker compared to this, at least to the northern and southern ends of the storm. So if we put a time here, you can see it'll get through Bremen by around 8:35 p.m. or so. This is Central Time as well. So this is local time, and then Chicago, downtown Chicago, by 8:41 p.m. and then as we get to about close to 9 p.m., we should be expecting that to go near the St. John area, and this will push off into the southern portions of Lake Michigan. So even though you're not in these areas, places like Gary, South Bend, Oregon, in Indiana, and Keener need to watch out for the potential that this line could still hold together and still could pack a pretty big punch there. So if we actually slide further south here to look at some of the other severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings here, this one near the I-65 there. Okay, so you can actually see on reflectivity, we have that swirling motion here, which indicates that there is some sort of rotation going on in the atmosphere. So this is a particular tornado warning, which is actually box-shaped. But again, anywhere in this box needs to watch out and need to go in that center part of the room. Preferably, if you're in a mobile home, it's better that you go to, if you can, go to a structured building that's just off your mobile home property because, again, these could be very serious and mobile homes can be picked up and thrown away like Hot Wheels. You really don't want to mess around with these tornadoes. And even weak tornadoes can still cause severe damage to mobile homes as well. So this particular tornado warning is in effect until 10 p.m. Eastern time, so it'll be 9 p.m. Central, and is radar indicated, meaning nobody has seen it, but again, that means radar does indicate that there is some sort of broad rotation. And you can actually see right here off to the southeast of Waseca there, we have that large area of rotation there. That's what the NWS is looking at right here for the potential for the severe weather, or for the tornado right there. And that's like moving off towards the east there. So if even though Brookstone, you're not in the immediate tornado warning, you want to make sure you do look for that interior room because this area is moving in your general direction. So if we put a time here, so we'll move through Fowler in about 5 minutes or so. Carpenter, Milroy, and Reynolds all need to be in that. If you're in those locations, you all need to be in that center shelter, that center part of the lowest level of your house, your structure, your basement, if you have one, would be preferred. At least as this tornado or tornadic system does make its way through there. And this is going to cross the Interstate 60. It looks like they just extended that tornado warning there. So now Reynolds, just north of Lafayette and into Delphi, are underneath that tornado warning. So again, you need to be taking precautions. Go to that lowest portion of your structure, whatever building that's at. Make sure you actually go to that structure because, again, these can be very serious as we continue on. So CC here, if we go back to there, at least there potentially could be a hail spike there with that. At least that would indicate that there's hail actually reflecting some of the beam off there. So there could be hail potentially within the storm as well. So not just a tornado risk potentially as well. So I don't see indication of really any tornado that could be causing any damage to any particular area near Fowler. But again, that doesn't matter. You're in that tornado warning. You need to make sure you go to the lowest portion of your structure and make sure you take those serious precautions. So again, if we zoom back out to the south central Illinois there, so just north of Harder, we have this discrete supercell here just to the north of Harder, and it's also been tagged for the tornado warning as well. This is radar indicated, so actually it looks relatively, there's some decent rotation there. Not anything bizarre, but again, there is that severe weather there at least there near Blair, and that continues off towards, this is going to go off towards the northeast there. So again, if you are in Clay, Effingham counties, as well as into, again, looking south of Crooked there, you need to watch out for potential for any severe weather. So if we go down to Memphis here, where we've been notified of potentially of a more serious situation going on there, we have, looks like some pretty robust storm there just off towards the east of Memphis. Tornado warning is actually considerable threat, and it's been observed, which means somebody has actually seen this. And we have that hook feature there, right there on radar, just at least into Mississippi, about to enter into Tennessee there. So again, Rossville, just east of Oakland, and also getting close to the city of Bolivar. Make sure you do take those precautions, go into the interior portions of that structure. And this is even more serious because this has been observed. And radar actually does show that evidence as well. We have those greens and those reds, that couplet, what we might say here, getting very close and wrapping right around where this circle. Yeah, thank you, Evan, right there, where you drew that circle there. That's where we potentially could have that tornado, or actually that's where we have a tornado on the ground there because it's been confirmed. And again, this includes Benton, Fayette, Hardeman, Marshall counties in effect right now. This is a considerable severe or tornado risk here. At least putting the time here, we at 8:37 should get through Early Grove, 8:50 by LaGrange, 8:54 Grand Junction, and then 8 or 9 p.m. Hickory Valley. And all these times are central time. So this is local time. So right now we're We're 9:30 p.m. or so Eastern time. This is 8:30 p.m. Central time. So again, right now, if you're in Early Grove, you need to be in that shelter right now, immediately. Like, go right now. I'm serious, because this is basically on top of you as it just crossed U.S. Route 72 into getting close to the Tennessee border there. And CC drop there, we potentially right here is where we have a little bit of a drop. It's not right, right there where it's been circled. That's where we have potentially some debris that might be beginning to fly up in the air. And if you're not familiar with correlation coefficient, that's the one metric we use to detect particles in the air that may not perhaps be atmospheric particles like, at least traditional air, so to speak. It could be. Right here is when that rotation where we're seeing that tornado on the ground there, and it is moving just off to the northeast there. And this tornado warning does expire at 8:45. However, if this is at least more considerable, they may potentially extend that. So again, our friends just off to the northeast of Grand Junction, Middleton, just behind the sign here with the tornado warning label there. Everybody in this general direction where I'm pointing right now needs to be looking at this and looking at going to a shelter, because this looks, at least it looks relatively healthy here on radar, and also again it is confirmed. So this particular cell is out ahead of the main line, which is back behind your Memphis. So what we look for, at least in the discrete cells, is the more of the threat of tornadic activity. It's what we see that's that classic hook shape that we tend to see on textbooks, weather textbooks here. So if we zoom out a little bit, just to kind of get the overall, maybe go a bit further back to the north there. Let's see. Yeah, okay, go to these. Yeah, these cells just southern Illinois into Kentucky. We have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for near the Indiana border there into Kentucky, and also tornado warning as well. We've gone back to, this is what we were just talking about here just a moment ago, that tornado warning is in effect for Clay and Effingham counties here, just north of Harder and southeast of Watson. And this is that discrete cell that's out ahead of the main line, where it's also been tagged for a severe thunderstorm warning as well. So again, if you're anywhere northeast of Harder, moving into Clay, Effingham counties, you need to be in that shelter right now. We also do have those severe thunderstorm warnings in effect just off to that, at least relatively off to that cells south and east or so. So this includes, at least this particular cell includes Johnson, Massac, and Pope counties. This is radar indicated. This potentially could be a possible tornado out ahead of this as well. So we could potentially, the reason why they tag this as well is because we could potentially get those quick spin-ups along that line. And what that might do is that might allow for tornadic activity to begin in those particular cells. So back further to the north there, near Chicago, where it's actually about to push over Lake Michigan there in Chicago. So right now, U.S. Route 12 going right through downtown Chicago and then into U.S. Route 14 there is where we have the leading edge of that Boeing feature on radar there. That indicates the very strong winds out ahead of that, at least with that main line. What that's doing is it's pushing at least the relative winds along this area, along this line here, out quicker. So putting some velocity here, 9 miles per hour. South there of Thornton, 68 miles per hour. So overall, this is a pretty serious wind event here for the Windy City in Chicago, as we have that line of storm pushing out into Lake Michigan, into also the far northwestern portions of Indiana. So Hobart as well needs to be on alert for this. We also have a tornado warning that's just been tagged here for just south of Thornton. So that goes until 8:45 p.m. Central Time, and that goes for Cook counties. This is radar indicated. So at least I don't particularly see anything impressive on velocity to indicate at least a tornadic signature. But again, nonetheless, you're still in that tornado warning. So like we've been saying all night here on FSU Weather, go to the lowest portion of your building, wherever you're at, a secure structure. If you have a basement, it's better to go there. However, if you can't, then go to an interior portion of the structure, the lowest portion of that building, where you can go underneath the stairs or potentially in the hallway. That'll be the best place to go. So zooming out here, we have so zooming closer to Tennessee there, we have that particular tornado warning that's just been extended here for portions just south of Boulevard. And again, if you're in Grand Junction, Moscow, just north of Walnut, and extending through about US Route 64, you want to make sure you're in that structure, because this has been observed. It's on the ground. It is moving, and it's moving fast, folks. You may only have minutes to react or so. So make sure, even after tornado warning, you want to make sure you're looking at this very seriously here. And velocity does show that really good indication that we do actually have a rotating column on the ground, otherwise known as a tornado, here just south of Moscow in the Grand Junction. Again, it's just north of US Route 72 right now, and that's all moving off towards the north and east. So Grand Junction, Hickory Valley, Middleton. If you're listening to me right now, you need to go to the lowest portion of your structure. I know we sound like we're on a record here, but what's that? 50 miles an hour? So it's moving at 50 miles an hour. So that's like country highway speed, so to speak. So it's still moving pretty quickly. So you may only have minutes or even minutes to react, unfortunately, in some cases. So as it's moving off toward the northeast, Michigan City, 8:47 p.m. Grand Junction, 8:53 p.m. This is all in Central Time. Salisbury, 8:59, 9:06, Rogers Springs, and then Middleton at 9:12. And this thing is moving very quickly, so you want to make sure you move to interior structure right now, because it is vitally important, and it would just potentially could. Again, we don't know how fast, we don't know how strong this is, but it looks like, depending, at least according to the velocity, that it is potentially really strong here. So as we continue throughout the rest of the night here, we'll at least look at the correlation coefficient here to show that drop to right here, and that we could potentially have debris that's flying in the atmosphere right now, and that would indicate that there's active damage occurring currently, at least around this area of rotation, which is just near my tip of my finger there, near Grand Junction, right here, where I'm swirling my finger right here around there. That's where we have the potential for that tornado that's going to move through the ground there. As I zoom back here, again, this is all moving just off to the northeast, so Hickory Valley, Middleton, all need to be in that secure shelter. So as we go off towards the south here to look at some of our southern storms, at least this one here, just approaching actually kind of in a V-line towards Memphis. We'll have to see if this holds together. Tornado warning's been tagged here, radar indicated, so we see velocity might show something here. So if we go there to indicate, okay, thank you, Chase. So we have this storm particularly here just off to the south and west of, Marland here, and just north of Marvell. We have right there is where we potentially could be seeing that tornado right there, just off to the south of US Route 79 near Mariana there, and it is moving off to the north and east at 53 miles an hour, right there where Evan just circled there. Actually looks like we might have a bit of a CC drop there, just off to the northwest of Marvel. If you can actually zoom in a little bit closer there with that area of rotation. Yeah, right there. It's right there, potentially could be a debris signature of a tornado on the ground right now, just northwest of Marville, extending off right there. See where the circle's at? That's where we could have that rotation. That's where we could have that tornado on the ground. So Rondo, Mariana, extending off towards north to Tanika here, need to be in that shelter right now as this tornadic supercell is moving closer to your area. So 8:49 p.m. by at least when it gets to Big Creek corner here. 8:53 by Rondo, 9:01 Mariana, and 9:05 Halesale, and then lastly 9:11 in Cody. Again, a lot of the times these storms actually can pick up speed and decrease speed as well, as, at least in their lifetime. So don't look at the exact number here. You want to look more for where, if you're in that geographical polygon, because that's where they expect the tornado to move somewhere within this area, within like 15 to about half an hour or so, as this particular air rotation moves off towards the north and east. And again, I want to stress this out. Mariana, north of Tunica, you need to be in that shelter right now and extending just north of Marvell. So if we go a bit further to the south towards Arkansas, where we do have a few severe thunderstorm warnings, they're in effect, actually a tornado warning too. They're in effect for the just south of Little Rock there, where unfortunately they've experienced at least a tornado that moved through the area. We have the severe thunderstorm warning tag there for Calhoun, Cleveland, Dallas, and Jefferson counties. This is radar indicated, so that means that radar has picked it up, not necessarily that somebody's seeing it, but again, the other thing I want to stress too is if you're anywhere within, if you're near a tornado warning or severe thunderstorm warning, don't go out and try to find it, because the thing is it's better to save your life than to confirm something. It's better that radar has shown there potentially could be a tornado as opposed to you going out and putting your own life in danger and trying to find the storm. Don't play storm chaser here, or let the professionals do it. So again, south of Pine Bluff there, we have that, at least particularly a very robust storm that's been tagged as severe thunderstorm warning. Again, even these tagged severe thunderstorm warnings too, even though they're not tornadoes, they could potentially spit up quick tornadoes from time to time here. And especially with those discrete cells out ahead of the main line, that's where we have the best chance of seeing those. So we move a little bit further to the south here, to see towards Louisiana there, where we have another severe thunderstorm warning, also just around Interstate 2, or I should say Interstate 49 there, just north of Natchitoches here, and just to the south of Ashland. What's that? Natchitoches. Thank you, Robert. So again, U.S. Route 49 there, or sorry, U.S. Interstate 49 is where it is just crossed over, just south of Ashland and approaching the Clarks and Jenna area. They need to be on the gun, or I should say they'd be on the radar there, as eventually could be under the gun there. And then our last severe thunderstorm warning there in effect in Texas, in the great state of Texas there, just north of Houston. Looks like it's just outside of radar range, but trust me, there is a severe thunderstorm there that's occurring just north of Houston. So if you're anywhere within Polk and Trinity counties, make sure you also go in that interior room as well. And that's one thing we want to stress as well, is it doesn't matter if you're just in a tornado warning. Even if you're in a severe thunderstorm warning, these winds could be packing punch, or at least as much as 90 miles per hour. That's almost like an EF1 tornado, nearly, in terms of maybe EF2, in terms of winds. So it can cause just as much damage, and if not more damage in some cases, at least along the straight line wind. So overall, our whole setup here, we have most of the active alerts are in the northern portions of that severe weather event. We have two tornado warnings right now, one in Illinois, in Indiana here, and that severe thunderstorm warning that's extending basically from Chicago all the way down through Kentucky, along that entire line that's just plowing through or into Kentucky, also into Tennessee, and extending all the way down far south into Texas. So Chase, are there any updates on radar or warnings, et cetera?
Well, actually, Aaron, I'm going to break down convective outlook a little bit more. As you can see, we've got a new convective outlook issued as the high risk has gone away for the northern portion of the severe weather area we've been seeing, but that does not mean you're out of the woods yet. You're still in a moderate risk, and our high risk, which we're actually starting to get kind of concerned about, is now down towards the Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas area. And actually, I want to bring up that the National Weather Service has now extended their tornado watch further east for locations down in Mississippi, into Louisiana, and now reaching into Alabama, actually. So now we've got most of northwestern Mississippi under a tornado watch. We now have a couple counties in northwestern Alabama under a tornado watch, and we have all of northern Louisiana under a tornado watch, and then we have a couple counties back into eastern Texas, under a tornado watch, and you can see that watch just extends the entire line that we have been seeing. Now, I'm actually going to take us to what we're looking at power outage-wise. As you see, some of the main states these storms are moving through, such as Arkansas and Illinois, we've been seeing a lot of power outages, and you can actually see on Illinois, we're starting to get the numbers start to trickle in now. And you can see how this line has just progressed across the state. You can start to see these power outage numbers go up. For you folks in Putnam County, half of you are without power. For you folks up in Lee County, 8,000 out of the 22,000 customers are without power. So we're seeing these power outage issues, which we were expecting to see. Iowa, we had some big storms earlier. Delaware County, half of your residents are without power. As we work our way south, the same story. And then if we actually look into Arkansas, where we are having some storms, fire which could cause concern for to become problematic as they move further east. Cross County, half of your customers without power. For you folks down in Crittenden County, about 5,000 out of your 13,000 are without power. So that's something to be aware of there. If you cannot get warnings, if you have family in these areas or friends in these areas that could be without power, please send them a text message if there is a warning issue for that area. Be on the lookout for them, because the only way they can really get warnings now is through their weather radio if they have batteries, or a text message. So be on the lookout for that. And actually, I'm going to go in a little bit and break down our convective outlook. So as I said earlier, we've got the high risk down here. We've got moderate that extends all the way up into Illinois and Indiana. And then you can see it go enhanced, slight, marginal. Tornado threat, we're still seeing that threat for tornadoes 30%. So basically that 30% means we could see a tornado within a 25-mile radius of a certain dot right there in that 30% area. And you have 15, 10, 5, and 2%. And then this kind of black shading area is what we like to call as meteorology a hatched area, where it basically means within a 25-mile radius of any point in that black area, you could see EF2 plus tornadoes. Incredibly violent, very powerful. Same goes for wind. We have a 45% chance of seeing 60-plus mile-an-hour winds at 25 miles radius of any given point. And a hatched area means you could see greater than 70 miles an hour winds in that area as well at any point in that area. And then hail has also been a story we've been seeing with this event. Hail size up to 2 inches. And again, 30% chance of seeing hail within that a dot of 25-mile radius in that, and then a hatched area for hail as well. Now, I want to take a look at some of our storms that we are seeing. As you can see, this event extends all the way across the central U.S. And actually, I want to talk about some of the damage we have actually seen from these storms that worked their way through northern Illinois earlier. We actually got a report that a music theater has collapsed in Bellevue, Indiana, which could be from straight line winds is what we're guessing from the storms we've been seeing up there. So we are seeing damage from that as well. And all right, and yes, so let's go look at the radar now. So we are going to take a look at these cells down by Memphis. You should see and pull up the warning for this one second. And you can see this is a radar indicator rotation. That doesn't mean there is no tornado on the ground. That means there very well could be a tornado on the ground. It just hasn't been spotted or it hasn't been confirmed. But even if you are in the path of this storm, please take your precautions. Be on the lookout. It is located near Palmer, moving northeast at 55 miles an hour, near highway speeds. Radar indicated main threat will be flying debris. The locations in the path of the storm will be Mariana, Hughes, Rondo, Aubrey, Bricky's, LaGrange, Jeffersonville, Cody, Cockmo. So if you guys live in these towns, please take cover now as the storm is working its way towards you at 55 miles an hour. Now, if we look at the cell that we have been tracking since over here, this cell originated over here just in the Stuttgart area, just to the southeast of Little Rock, and we have tracked it from Stuttgart all the way to southern Tennessee now. Let me pull up the warning on this one. So we have now it is we have a tornado warning in effect. It is located near LaGrange, moving east at 55 miles an hour. Our main threats are tornado. It is radar indicated rotation, so if you are on the path of the storm, be on the lookout. And the locations in the path are Bolivar, Big Hill Pond State Park, Pocahontas, LaGrange, Michigan City, Middleton, Grand Junction, Hornsby, and LaGrange, Hickory Valley, Salisbury, Roger Springs, and Libson. So if you are in any of these cities in the path of the storm, take cover now as the storm is working its way very quickly towards you, which could possibly have a tornado on the ground. Now, as we can see off to the west, we are seeing some storms start to fire around the Pine Bluff area, and these storms will be moving into a very favorable environment. I talked about a mesoscale discussion earlier from the Storm Prediction Center talking about storms that were firing over here in the Arkansas, Louisiana region, and they had a history of producing large hail and some damaging winds. And as they work their way east, they will be entering a much more favorable environment. So that means better chance of producing strong winds, hail, and the possibility of a tornado. So be on the lookout for these cells as we do start to transition now into more of a southern region tornadic threat. But however, you folks in the north still need to be on the lookout because you have heavy winds and possibility of tornadoes embedded in these heavy squall lines. But anyway, I'm going to work my way north, and we're going to look at this next tornado warning we have here in the southern Illinois region. Let me pull up the warning on this one. So we are looking at a radar indicated rotation for this tornado. It is moving east at 60 miles an hour, highway speeds. Our main threat will be flying debris, and you folks in the path of this, such as St. Marie and Willow Hill, need to be taking cover now as the storm is making its way right for you in about the next 5 minutes. Remember, 60 miles an hour, that means that storm is covering a mile a minute. That is incredibly quick. Now, as you can see, we got a plethora of severe thunderstorm warnings. Let me just pull one of these up. We are seeing threats of 60-mile-an-hour winds. That is strong tropical storm force winds. As folks have probably never really experienced a tropical storm in your area, you have seen the damage that one of these can cause, and that's some of the damage we could be seeing here. It is moving southeast at 50. You folks in Hinsboro, Oakland, and Raritan, please get into the interior part of your home, as because these winds could be very damaging. There also could be quarter-sized hail embedded in this line. If you're on Interstate 57 between markers 142 and 210, or Interstate 70 between mile markers 82 and 102, pull over, stop, wait, let this storm pass. It is impossible to drive from experience in storms that are raining that hard with that heavy of winds with hail. So don't attempt to drive out in these storms. You're just putting yourself in unneeded danger. Take a look at some of these tornado warnings up to the north. We have a tornado warning in the north central Indiana region. Pull up this warning right here. We have a radar indicated rotation of this storm moving northeast at 50. Main threat will be a tornado. Could be on the ground, just again, means it may not have been spotted yet, but there very well could be a tornado on the ground. For you folks in Wolcott, you need to be taking cover as the storm is moving right for you. This is for the same cell. This will include areas such as Moonan, Franceville, and Wilniac. And as you can see, we have that big straight line threat make its way out of the Chicago area and actually working its way into southern Michigan, into the South Bend, Kalamazoo, and Grand Rapids area. So you folks up there need to be prepared, because these were the same storms that were producing 90-mile-an-hour winds. 90 miles an hour. That is, think of a wall of wind that is EF1 strength or Category 1 bordering Category 2 intensity. So again, be prepared for those. And I'm going to zoom back out and take one more last look at our severe weather outlook. Again, we are experiencing a historic outbreak of severe weather. We do have a moderate risk extending from Illinois, Indiana, down to Arkansas. We have a high risk there between Tennessee, northern Mississippi, and eastern Arkansas. And we could be seeing all types of severe weather, which could be straight line winds, strong tornadoes, and very large hail, which we have been seeing today. We did see a tornado go through downtown Little Rock. We also did see a monster mile-wide tornado up in Iowa. But Robert, tell us what's going on around on radar.
Right, so again, we have a long-tracked, long period severe weather setup we're watching here. We've been live ever since around 4 p.m. today. It's now almost 10 p.m. here Eastern time. This setup really shows no signs of slowing, particularly in the southern part of the region. But we're going to start from the north. We're going to go from there. Indiana right now under the gun from these tornado warnings and severe weather warnings. We have really a distinct setup going on here. Tornado warnings, that's a distinct tornado setup. Everyone knows what a tornado is. I don't need to explain that. But on top of the tornado threat, we have damaging winds. Some of these severe thunderstorm warnings are packing a punch up to 60, 70, 80, some cases 90 miles per hour winds. As Chase said, tropical storm force, possibly even hurricane force in some cases. These are sustained for not just a gust for a second or two. These can be up for minutes, and that can be damaging for some buildings. So right now, we do have a tornado warning for Lake and Porter counties. We're getting into Indiana here. Here's Gary, this area here. It's a little bit east of you in Gary. It's closer to it's a little southwest of Michigan City. This is the tornado warning. It's radar indicated. It'll be until 9:15 p.m. Central Time. And if we could zoom in on it here so I could just show you where the notch is in that area of circulation the Weather Service is just a little bit concerned about. We have right here, 9:15, this area west of Valparaiso. So Valparaiso University, you are under this tornado warning. You need to be going to your tornado shelter or your interior lowest level room as soon as possible. I know it's a heavy meteorology university, so likely many students there are very accustomed to tornadoes, but even that, you can't take this for granted. We need you to still be taking those precautions because this is a damaging situation. Right here, this area in red, these pinks and reds here, you see this gradient. That's where you could have that circulation that the National Weather Service is warning for, and it'll be moving east. Could we actually put a track on this over the next really few minutes here just to see what cities are in the firing line from this storm? 65 miles per hour east. So essentially, it's taking this US 30 route east of, and maybe a little bit of a northeast motion as well, and it will be moving at 65 miles per hour. So this tornado could be moving at freeway speeds. That's why it's really important that when you're under this warning, you're taking precautions as soon as possible because you don't have a lot of time to react. The Weather Service is really good at getting a lot of lead time on these storms, but even still, some of these tornadoes can form very quickly. So you're in Valparaiso, 9:09 p.m., 9:04 in Sedley, so that's only like 2 or 3 minutes here, even though it's 9 o'clock, 9:04 p.m., you might not even have that much time. Lincoln Hills, 9:07, 9:09 for Valparaiso, and 9:12 p.m. for Suman. So again, this area in Lake and Porter counties, we really need you to be taking that shelter immediately, not just for this tornado, that's a threat already, but because of these damaging winds as well. Okay, let's move south of here. I believe we have another tornado warning as you go further south on US 65, and yes, we do unfortunately have another setup of tornado warnings here in Pulaski and White counties. This is US 421, this is US 65. We have these sort of, it's not, down here it's a little more messy storm mode. We're not really talking quite your normal line here as we saw a little bit north, and it's not quite supercell, it's a little bit in between. And that causes a threat for not just some spin-up tornadoes, but these tornadoes could be possibly a little stronger. So until 10:30 p.m. Eastern time here, so this is for Eastern time now for these warnings, is for Pulaski and White counties, and these are radar indicated as well. So US 421, here's Interstate 65, it's east of 65. Here are your warnings right here, and can we put on velocity here so I can see where exactly that tornado could be? It could be anywhere in this area where we have broad rotation. I can see a little bit of circulation here. Which radar is this? Is this Chicago's? Okay, so these winds are going toward, these greens are going towards the radar, so they're going sort of in this direction, towards that way. And then you have these reds going away from the radar, this direction. So we're looking for basically anti-clockwise circulation for where that tornado could be. Anywhere in this area, it could be likely around Monticello, anywhere in this area where we have broad rotation. So that's why the Weather Service has put those tornado warnings down. You don't need to understand the dynamics of how a tornado works to take shelter from them. The Weather Service has put these warnings down. You really need to be taking precaution. Go inside your center of your house, center of your building, lowest floor. If you have a basement or you have a tornado shelter, go there now. Okay, so let's zoom out from here. And we do have this tornado warning extends further south into White County as well. I just want to make sure you're aware of that. More severe thunderstorm warnings all the way now east of Champaign. And this tornado warning, based on our indication, this looks like this is a considerable tornado here. Unfortunately, it's late at night now. We don't like to see very strong, really any tornadoes, but particularly very strong tornadoes that could be damaging communities this late. Don't go outside. Don't go outside to see these tornadoes. Don't try and see them. It's so dark and late. Even if it was during the day, it's not a good idea already, but now it's so dark and late outside, please don't wait, and don't wait to see the tornado before you take caution. You want to go inside immediately when this tornado warning is issued, and it's got a considerable, particularly dangerous situation tag on it. So if we could zoom in here, it's for the city of Robinson, the counties of Crawford and Jasper until 9:30 p.m. Central Time. So again, time at the top is in Eastern up here, so take an hour off of that, 9:03 p.m. Central Time. It's going to be moving northeast, basically Robinson. You are right in the line here. If we put a line where this tornado is going, it could be going right towards you in Robinson. Sullivan, we also need you to be watching for this as well. Get ready to take shelter. But those of you in Robinson need to be taking cover right now. You don't have any more time. We need you to be getting inside your interior lowest level rooms. So 9:07 p.m. for Stoy, 9:12 p.m. for Robinson. So that's maybe a few minutes here. Don't even take that. It could be even faster than this. So just go now. Don't even wait. And if you're also worried about losing connection, losing your coverage of weather, you can do two things. You can turn your TV way up when you go to your room, and also you can put us on our YouTube app. We're on YouTube, streaming right there. Pull us up on your phone and go to your bedroom. Don't watch us on the TV if you need to take shelter. Also, if you're watching your local affiliates, you can do the same as well. Robinson, Gill as well for 10:24 because that's Eastern time, so the time zone split right here. But it's essentially, you can see Gill has about 20 minutes of warning here, maybe not even that. You need to be taking precautions immediately. Lamont, 9:18. Okay, we have this tornado warning, so let's go a little further south now, and we're just going to go through them like we have all night here just to make sure we're covering everyone. So a little bit northeast of Paducah here, and this is going to be along the Ohio River Valley, Morganfield. You're in this tornado warning here for Gatlin, Hardin, and Union counties until 9:30 p.m. Central Time. This is radar indicated. We have this large supercell here. It is a little bit north of Marion. It is a little bit northeast of Golconda. It's moving north and east. So Morganfield, if we could put on velocity and zoom in just a little bit so I can point out some towns. That is a very concerning couplet. So right in here, just southwest of Gold Hill, this is where we see a lot of rotation. This is indicative a tornado could be there. We need you to be, if you're in Morganfield, if you're anywhere right there, yes, Evan is outlining that potential tornado circulation. It's pretty strong, so this is a concern for us. Morganfield, and that could be, what we see here, we see these lines going away from the area. The radar is coming from the southwest, so this direction. So when the beams come up here, if anything is trapping them, you start to see these lines go beyond the thing that is trapping those beams. So you could actually have maybe two things. Possibly a tornado trap that is keeping the beam from getting full coverage, but also possibly a large hail signature. That's what you see when you see these things as well, just to keep you aware of what you're seeing there. But either way, the consensus is take those precautions now. If you are anywhere in Gallatin, Hardin, or Union counties, you need to be going to that lowest level room, going as close to the center of your house as possible, going as low as you can. If you have a basement or a tornado shelter, go there now. One more time to see if we can zoom in just a little, or we'll put on the track first actually, and then do that afterwards. Raleigh 9:18, 9:14 Blackburn, 9:26 for Morganfield, and 9:29 for Flournoy. Those of you right in the path here, you need to be going inside immediately. If I name your town, don't wait for this time to get there. If I named your town, the time is now. Go to your room now. And take your pets, take your family, make sure they are all knowing about this. And I know it's kind of late, you might not want to wake some people up, but if you are in this warning and you know people in this warning, or possibly even in this big severe weather setup, which is extending all the way from the Great Lakes in the north to the Gulf Coast in the south, it's across the entire Mississippi River Valley, just text them and at this point call them. You could save a life. Make sure they know they need to be taking shelter immediately. So Morganfield, that is immediate concern for you. Blackburn, if we could clear these right now and just zoom in a little closer to that area of center circulation, just see if I can point out some more town names, maybe some road names for people. It's a little bit east of Eagle Creek, so we have Illinois State Highway 1, Kentucky State Highway 109, and this area right in here, it looks like we actually, is that a new tornado warning or maybe an update to the product that we just got? No, I just turned off the box. Okay, gotcha. So this is still the same tornado warning. It's still in effect. This area of circulation right in here, it is moving off towards the north and east. So US 60 going towards Morganfield. It's west of US 60. It's west of Kentucky 109. It's east of Illinois 1. So in that area, that is the area of circulation we are concerned about. Morganfield, time is now. Go to that lowest level interior room now. Okay, let's zoom out a little more and then go a little further south. We have an ongoing situation throughout the entire U.S. It's mostly along this Mississippi River Valley region. And close to Memphis, we've seen issues around Memphis really all afternoon and night with just tornado after potential tornado, and it's just, we'll get you through this. It's going to take a little while longer before the end of the night comes, but once the front clears your region, you won't have to worry about these tornado warnings anymore. It's just unfortunate that we've had many rounds here for the Memphis metro area, so you've had to go through quite a lot. So we have right here this observed tornado. It's considerable. It's a particularly dangerous situation. This is from Middleton. This is immediate. This is an immediate concern here. It's not, well, this could be a tornado. We're just warning you just in case. We know there is a tornado here. And the danger is even higher because it's at night. You won't be able to see it when it comes. You won't get a lot of warning. We're giving you as much warning as you can with this right now. Middleton, here is that area of circulation. As we keep referencing, inflow notch in here. That's very classic situation for a tornado. It's observed. We know it's down on the ground. If we get a velocity signature here, and that is very textbook. That is an extremely textbook velocity signature. We would expect to see something like that for a strong, powerful tornado. Could we actually put on correlation coefficient? That could actually be a debris ball. That does look very, very suspicious. I'm a little worried about that. city, that right there, it's a little bit northwest of Middleton. Anywhere near Middleton, you really need to be taking that shelter right now because this is a dangerous situation. We know there is a tornado right here. Southwest of Hornsby, anywhere in Hardeman and McNairy counties, you need to be taking those precautions immediately. Get as close to the center of your house. Go lowest level as possible, basement if you have one. Hebron 915 and Ceres 919. Not a lot of towns on the path right here, but we're going to try and make sure we're giving everyone a chance to get away from this tornado or to take shelter from this tornado. We know even if they're slightly less populated areas, we still care about you. We want to make sure that you know about these storms coming through your area. So north of Middleton, we just had that new scan. That is a very, very suspicious area of velocity there. And not just suspicious, we know it's a tornado on the ground. And that that is a very classic debris signature right there. I'm pretty sure that is debris. Unfortunately, being lofted, we really hate to see that. And that's why we're showing this to you, because we want to make sure you are taking those precautions right now. We're trying to communicate the severity. We're not trying to instill fear. We're just trying to communicate the severity of the situation. So you will ride it out with your family, your friends, and your pets in that basement, that tornado shelter, that lowest level interior room. Just ride it out for a half hour. Wait for it to clear. You might have a few more storms behind it you got to worry about, but once the front is through, you'll be good to go. We just got to get through the rest of the few hours of this night, and then you'll be good. But we'll get through this first. Got to get through this tornado warning. It's moving through Hardeman and McNairy counties until 9:15 p.m. Central Time, southwest of Hornsby, north of Middleton. It's a really bad situation. You need to be taking shelter now. If we could zoom in a little closer, I want to see if there's any smaller towns I could just point out, maybe some more roads. I just want to make sure everyone knows where this is. So this is Tennessee 125, Tennessee Highway 125, and that debris signature is very concerning. We really need you in the path of this storm to be taking your tornado precautions immediately. This is just, it's a textbook situation unfortunately for this area. And that's why the Weather Service has put the observed tag and the considerable tag, because these things, they only reserve them for situations where they're very bad situations where we see strong damaging tornadoes. You might have been watching, if you've been watching our coverage all night tonight, that yes, we've talked about the fact that it's observed and considerable a lot. We've said that for a lot of tornadoes. That's not because these events happen often. That's because in tonight's event, unfortunately, all of these tornadoes have been high end. So all these tornadoes have been on the rarer end scale, and that's why we need you to be taking, if you're just under a severe thunderstorm warning, let alone a tornado warning, to be going inside that lowest level interior room and taking as much space between you and the outside walls and windows, go as close to the center, and just getting your friends, family, everyone to take shelter from this tornado. You can't just say, well, this tornado warning is issued, I'll just wait a little bit longer, this might not be the real one. You will thank yourself. And if it turns out that this was a serious situation, which it very well looks like, you need to go inside that lowest level interior room. Okay, we cover this one here. I believe we have a few more storms to our south and west also to look at. I believe one actually close to Memphis right now. Sadly, just the situation continuing with more storms near Memphis. And this one, this track we've seen now, I believe, 3 or 4 separate tornado-warned supercells take the same track to the southern Memphis suburbs tonight, and this is just the next one. So again, I know it's a lot. I know a situation like this can be stressful and very draining, but this is the second tornado for Hernando. Thank you, Chase. It can be very draining, it can be very stressful, but we have been here before, and we'll get through this again. We're going to take you through this. We're going to tell you what you need to do if you're in any of the affected areas. You'll be, as long as you're taking those precautions, going to your shelter immediately, getting out of your mobile home and going to a sturdy structure if you can within 15 and 20 seconds. Going outside of your car, pulling off the road, going to a building if you can. Just getting as much sturdy structure as you can to protect you from this tornado. You will get through it, and we'll get you through this one. So, tornado warning until 9:45 p.m. Central Time. It's for Crittenden, DeSoto, Lee, and Tunica counties. It's radar indicated, but as I said, with these tornadoes tonight, you really can't just be saying, well, it's radar indicated, I'm just not going to worry. You need to be taking these seriously. Hernando, that's the city right there. We have, again, Interstate 69 here is the outer loop of Memphis. Southern Memphis suburbs, you need to be going to your shelter right now. Anywhere in just northwest of North Tunica. So if we could put on velocity and just zoom in here, it's east of Mariana. It's basically almost going over the Mississippi River right now. Actually, I want to see what this other tornado warning, what the product on it is. I'm not sure if it's different, but yeah, okay, it's radar indicated. So I just want to see if it was different, but it's not. So it's still a situation you need to be worried about. This area right now with these darker greens and wider greens right next to the Mississippi River, that is where that tornado could very well be. This is an area of circulation, and that is exactly where Evan's pointing it out. It's moving off towards the north and east. So this is Interstate 55, this is Interstate 69. This is where your circulation is, and it's moving this direction. So anywhere on US 61, north of North Tunica, east of Mariana, southeast of Hughes, anywhere in that area, you need to be taking those precautions. If you're outside, you don't want to be outside. You want to be as close to the center of your building as possible. Bowdra at 9:30, Clack at 9:34, 9:38 at Banks, and 9:43 at Cub Lake. This tornado is going to be moving off towards the north and east. It's about 60 miles per hour, most storms today are. These storms, we're just going to keep getting you through them. Just want to let you know, if you are anywhere in the polygon, say you're down here, and you're saying, well, this tornado is probably going to miss me to the north. You really don't, you can't take a risk like that, particularly in a night like tonight. If you're anywhere in the polygon, just be overly cautious tonight and go inside your safe shelter in your house or your building. Just take those precautions, wait that extra 30 minutes, get through it on a night like tonight because we really need you to stay safe. Okay, let's zoom out and then see some of these storms to our south and west, see if there's anything tornadic with them. I know there were earlier severe thunderstorm warned. They might have a tornadic threat now, they might not. We actually do have a tornadic threat with this one. Okay, so this one is going to be for DeShaw and Lincoln counties until Friday at 9:45 p.m. Central Time. It's radar indicated, so north of Dumas, southwest of DeWitt, east of Rowell, southeast of Pine Bluff. Here, US 65, this is the area you're watching right here. This is a severe thunderstorm warning, your tornado warning. Let's, as I've, my favorite combo here, let's go to velocity and zoom in so I can tell you where these areas are you need to be concerned about. And that is a very, very just a clear couplet right there, just east of Star City. Southeast parts of Star City, you need to be inside that lowest level interior room right now. This is a dangerous situation with this couplet. It's moving off towards the north and east, so Gold, you're right in the path of this. We need you to be taking those precautions right now. If I name your town anywhere in this, just go to that shelter immediately. We really need you to. As I've said previously, but I want to emphasize it again if you're just joining us, the safest place for a tornado is as close to the center of your house and building as possible. If you're in a car, get out of your car and go to a close church, go to a close McDonald's, any sort of building you can get to within a minute or two. If you're in a mobile home, go to a close house, someone you know who has a sturdy structure building. You don't want to try and survive a tornado in a mobile home. It does not work. This is your area of circulation. It is really moving. It's sort of jawed a little bit to the east here, but it's moving northeast towards Gold. Thank you, Evan, for putting on the track. We're going to look at the cities here. Avery, 9:24. Here's the time you're looking for. Here's your current time at Central Time, 9:17 p.m. Central Time. So really, you're saying, well, yeah, 7 minutes. For some people, you got to get your family, your friends, your pets together. 7 minutes is not a lot of time. You really need to be taking those precautions immediately. Gold, 9:31, 9:35 in Douglas. This will, again, all be over in just a few hours. We just need to get you through this first. Right now, we've got these tornadoes, maybe another line behind it, but after that's done, the front is clear. You'll be done with these. But right now, you need to take this seriously. This is the moment you prepared for. Go inside that lowest level room, close to the center of your house and building. Get off the road. Don't be driving through this. If you're driving on US 65 or US 165, because this tornado warning could very well be extended east of here, you want to be off the road, not in a mobile home. Get inside a sturdy structure with a sturdy foundation. That's how you can ride out this storm. Okay, so this is the storm in Star City and Gold for DeShaw and Lincoln counties. Let's zoom out a little more and just see if there's any new updates to this. If not, I will pass things off to Chase.
Tornado warning to the south of South Bend, Indiana.
Okay, yeah, let's start at the top here. I see a few new tornado warnings, so I'll take you through these, and then I'll pass it off to Chase to talk a little bit more about our setup here. So this one right here, we've been watching since it's been in Illinois near Chicago. The one just north of it, if you could zoom into that one. Yeah, so it's just south of South Bend, and it's from LaPorte and Stark counties until 9:30 p.m. Central Time tonight. So northwest of the city of West, southwest of the city of South Bend, it seems to be pretty much tracking due east at this point. So if you can see south of Michigan City, this is where we're watching that area. If you could put on velocity, and I'll just show you. So this is, again, what we've been talking about. With these lines of storms, you have this discrete tornado threat where you can see these QLCS. Don't worry about the science of it, quasi-linear convective system. That doesn't matter right now. These just quick spin-up tornadoes. That's what you need to know. These are your winds rushing out ahead of it, though. Very strong, very fast winds. So even if you don't have this tornadic threat, it's still very, very dangerous winds. So we need you. Okay, so we need you to be taking shelter here in LaPorte and Stark counties. Let's go to a tornado emergency that has just been issued for this storm. Okay. This one right here for Robinson, it is a tornado emergency, and it hasn't updated in our system yet, but it is, yeah, okay. So this one right here, if we could put on velocity, and that is a very, very strong couplet. So Robinson, you are in a tornado emergency. We need you. It's a little bit east of the city, Robinson now, but if you know anyone in East Robinson, if you know anyone close to the
Moving
border
east
here,
at 65.
east at 65 miles per hour. Thank you, Chase. So here is the state border here. We have US 150, Curry and Stockton in Indiana. This area in Robinson, Illinois. You are moving to the east. This is where your tornado we know is on the ground is. A tornado emergency. What that means is a tornado watch, as you guys know, means that a tornado is possible in the broader context of the situation. We don't know there's a storm specifically we're worried about. Tornado warning means we know there's a storm right now in this area. You need to take shelter now. Sometimes you have a PDS tornado warning. That means we likely see the tornado on the ground. This is a catastrophic situation. Tornado emergencies are reserved for the strongest and most violent of tornadoes. So if you're in this area, I don't want to make you afraid, but I'm just telling you, you need to be taking that shelter right now. US 150, Curry, you need to be taking shelter immediately. Going inside a building, you don't want to be outside. You want to be making sure that you are as close to the center of that building as possible. All of your friends, family, and pets know about it. This is a very large debris ball, and the debris is unfortunately being wafted very high because we're very high from the radar site here. We're seeing, again, here's a track here. It's moving at Maram. It's going to be here. At these times, might not even be, might be a little bit too slow. So Maram, it is right on top of you. You need to be inside that shelter right now. New Lebanon, Sullivan, East Shelburne, and Hymera. You are probably going to see this storm within the next 5 to 10 minutes. It is going to be getting there very quickly, and you need to be taking shelter now. If you're on US, this is US 159, I believe, if I remember correctly, anywhere in this area of Sullivan, that area, this US highway to the east of Maram and Sullivan, take that shelter now. Go inside that lowest level interior room right now. This is a dangerous, dangerous situation. We never like to see a situation like this. Again, I'm not trying to make you afraid. I'm not trying to add fear in you. We're just trying to communicate the severity of the situation, because we know that is very easy sometimes, particularly as a person coming from Texas in an area that receives a lot of tornado warnings. I know this area receives a lot of tornado warnings too. It's really easy to say, you know, it probably isn't going to happen this time. It's really easy just to dismiss it. We know this is happening. This is the debris right here. We need you to be taking that shelter right now. Sullivan, Scotchtown, and Wright, it's going to be coming to you in the next 5 to 10 minutes. If you're in any of those towns, I just named them, take that shelter now. Go inside. You have a few minutes to prepare, if maybe that. This is your warning. This is your go time. Go take your friends and family and just go to the center of your building. And if you have tornado shelters, underground, any sort of basements, underground is best. That is your very, very good chance of survival if you go underground. But if you don't have underground, then your best option is as close to the center of your building. But underground is best, particularly for a catastrophic tornado like this. Alrighty, let's zoom out from here and just sort of see the whole situation at play. For all of our storms here, we have, again, those few tornado warnings up in the Indiana and Illinois area, crossing the state border right there. We have those few down in Arkansas and Tennessee. I believe if we go close to Paducah, there is a new tornado warning close to Paducah, one just south of the one that we covered earlier. And again, this does not include Paducah. Paducah is southwest of here, but Elizabethtown, this is for Crittenden, Hardin, and Livingston. Elizabethtown, Kentucky, we're watching this chance for a tornado is moving east. So anywhere in this area, we have sort of 3 tornado warnings here, all taking account for the storm. So Henderson and Union counties, Crittenden counties as well. Anywhere along this river area here, you need to be taking that shelter immediately. So until 9:45 p.m., this tornado warning is for Henderson and Union counties. Go to that lowest level room or underground if possible. Alrighty, let's zoom back out and just sort of see, again, the state at play just one more time before I hand things off to Chase to talk a little bit more about the setup here. We have these 3 tornado warnings out here we had just covered. We have these 2 as well near Paducah that we also covered, and that tornado emergency. Let's one more time get into that tornado emergency, because that is a life-threatening situation for the people just east of Robinson. Now, it's basically almost entered Indiana now. So this one, if you could pull up that one right there, yes. This is a tornado emergency for Clay, Greene, and Sullivan counties. It is observed, and it is a considerable damage threat. So south of Farmersburg, southwest of, or directly west, excuse me, of Stockton. If we could zoom in just a little bit more and get some closer city names to the area and maybe put on velocity as well. Sullivan, City of Sullivan, it is almost on top of you here. You need to be taking shelter right now, going as close, underground's best, basement is best, but as close to the center of your room if you don't have that. You can see a lot of debris being wafted with this storm. Unfortunately, it looks like some people's lives have just been impacted by this tornado. We don't want any more people to be affected by this storm. So heed these warnings. Respect the polygon. If you're anywhere in this polygon, you're way up here, you're way down here, you're way over here, and you think, well, there's no way it can get to me. The tornado can move. We need you. There's a reason they drew it like this. We need you to be taking that shelter right now. This is an emergency for a reason. Sullivan, Haddon, Stockton, anywhere in this area. If we could zoom in just a little bit more, maybe see if there's any smaller towns I can call out the name of just so everyone knows what's going on. This is Indiana State Route 54. This is US 150, Indiana State Route 63, City of Turman. If I'm naming your city or a nearby highway, you need to be inside that shelter right now. Gill, Paxton, Duggar, you are right in the firing line from this storm. You need to be taking that shelter right now, going as close to the ground, underground as possible. If you don't have that, go as close to the center of your house as possible or building, and make sure your family, friends, and pets are all there, because that is the best chance you have at surviving a storm like this. Gill, Sullivan, and Duggar. Again, I want to make sure, don't be afraid. Just prepare. We'll get you through this, and after these storms are past, that's the end of your threat. But this is a damaging situation. We need to make sure you get through this alive, and you get through this with your family and your friends and your pets. So that's what we're saying. Gill, Sullivan, Paxton, Duggar, Turman. If you live near any of these areas, and I haven't named your city yet, along Indiana 154, US 150, Duggar, Indiana 54, north of Bucktown, or really even the city of Bucktown at this point. We can zoom out a little more and get some city east of here so I can give them a little bit of heads up as well for the storm. Because with a storm like this, it can be long tracked as well. Worthington, Fairplay, Wright. If we could go a little further east actually as well on this. Stockton, and we actually had a new radar scan in, so it's getting close to the city of Sullivan. Sullivan, now is the time. This is dangerous for Sullivan. You need to be inside the lowest level that you can possibly get, underground if possible. You have minutes, maybe even seconds before it gets there. You don't have a lot of time to react. Don't wait. You just got to do one thing. Just set your mind on one thing. If you're worried right now, you have a lot of things going through your mind. This is a dangerous situation. You don't know what to do. You got one thing. Go protect yourself and your family. Go to that room. You've been there before. If you haven't and you just moved to this area, the one thing you need to do, go inside a lowest level you can. Basement, underground. Get there in a few seconds. If you can't, go to the closest part of the center of your house or building as possible. If you're in a mobile home, go to your neighbor that has a firm foundation, something that is a strong, sturdy structure. Go there right now. You need to do it. There's no more time, Sullivan. Wright, Worthington. Let's go a little bit further east. Beach Creek, Bloomington, Indiana. It's a little further out for you. I'm just trying to name as many cities as possible because this is really a dangerous tornado. Bloomington, Indiana. I know you're a larger population center in that area. It's a little further out, so no need to worry yet, but keep on guard and keep watching this. I know it's starting a little late, maybe bedtime for some people. Make sure your warnings are on. Make sure your phone's warnings are on. This is not the night you want to be waiting to, turn your phone's alerts off and trying to get a good sleep tonight. You can get a good sleep tomorrow night. You just need to make sure you're ready to get those alerts tonight. Dean Blossom, Clay City, anywhere in this area, US 231, counties of Clay, Greene, and Sullivan, anywhere in this area, you need to be taking those precautions right now. Again, emphasis, city of Sullivan, right now it's on top of you. You've got to get to that room right now as possible. One thing, I know, in an emergency situation, it can be really easy for your mind to swim along. You got a lot of things going on. It's really hard for you to know what to do next. One thing, go to that room. Go to the center of your house. Go as close to the underground as possible. Take your family and your friends. Again, I want to make sure you have those alerts on for your phones. You are calling your friends and family, calling everyone you know in the town. I know it's late. I know it's late at night. There might be some people who are out. Call everyone you know. They need to know what's going on. And Sullivan, if you know anyone in Sullivan or anyone in this part of Indiana, or you know a family member who might be from Indiana or Illinois, just call them, because this is a very, very dangerous situation. Again, I want to emphasize, we're not trying to make you afraid here. We're just trying to get you through this. And in these kind of situations, we've got to communicate the severity of them. So let's zoom back into Sullivan here, and this is that circulation we're watching here. It's right on top of the city of Sullivan. US 150, Indiana 154, this area, Indiana 54, City of Sullivan, you need to be underground right now. You need to be underground. That's your best chance of survival. If you have a neighbor or a family friend you can walk to, you can run to in like 15, 20 seconds, and you can get there, they have an underground shelter, start calling them and go there right now. That is your best chance for survival with a storm like this. It is a very tight area of circulation. It is a very, very considerable threat for the City of Sullivan. It's moving northeast, City of Duggar as well. Again, you'll get through this. We'll get you through this. We're talking you through this. Indiana 154, US 150. We just need you to take those precautions. We're telling you this a lot. I know I'm repeating myself a few times just in case someone turns on the air and they're a little bit late to this and I've already said these things. We're telling you things over and over again because these things have been studied in practice. We know this is how you can survive a tornado. We're trying to make sure you will get through this for the rest of the night and be able to, get through tomorrow, and we'll see what happens, but we just need to get through right now. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about what happens next. Just worry about getting through this and getting through this with your family and your friends and your pets. Call everyone you know and tell them to take shelter now. Basement or tornado shelter is best for the City of Sullivan. Basement or tornado shelter is best. If you don't have that, whatever room you have, if it's a hallway, if it's a closet, whatever it is, bathroom is best because it has some plumbing that provides extra support for you in the walls. But whatever it is, at the closest center of your house, first floor, get there now. If you're on the road and you're hearing this by chance on US 150 or Indiana 154 or Indiana 54 and you're going towards Sullivan, get off the road. Get off the road now. Don't even try to get through this. And if you're chasing right in this area, don't in this area. This is not the storm you want to be chasing. In a night like this, in an area like this, the city is we really, really need those of you in Sullivan to take immediate precautions. This debris ball right here, this is what you see, a characteristic of a strong, damaging tornado. So again, Sullivan, I'm just going to repeat myself one more time in case you just got on our broadcast. Sullivan, right now, time is now. You don't have any more time. You need to be taking your precautions in that shelter immediately, going to a basement or storm shelter as quick as you can. If you're in a mobile home and you don't know where to go, but you know there is a building on your property that has a firm foundation, and it is put down, and you know it's like a 15, 20-second walk or really run at this point, you need to get there. If you are in a home with construction quality that hasn't been the best and you know it hasn't gotten through tornadoes previously very well, and you have a neighbor that you can go to in 5, 10 seconds, you can run there, get your family there, go there now. If you have friends or family that you know in Sullivan, call them, tell them, wake them up, call them as many times as you have to tell them to take shelter now. Okay, so I know I've gone over Sullivan a lot. We just want to make sure that you're getting through this. We're just going to zoom out one more time just to make sure we're taking stock of the whole situation. And then, as I said earlier, I would pass things off to Chase, just to make sure that everyone in Sullivan knows what's going on. We have those tornado warnings up in northern Indiana, the one in nearby Sullivan in Indiana as well. And I think we just had an update for that, so I just want to check that one update real quick after this. But we do have 2 tornado warnings northeast of Paducah, 1 east of Memphis, and 1 south of Memphis. Okay, well, let's just check the quick update on the one near Paducah, and then Sullivan, and northeast of Paducah. Sorry, excuse me, I said Paducah incorrectly. The tornado emergency in Sullivan, I want to see if it's still an emergency as we're continuing to track these setups here. And I know it says tornado warning here because our system processes them as tornado warnings. Chase, is this an emergency still? I wouldn't be surprised if it is still because this is it's now a PDS. Either way, we know it's doing damage. We know it's on the ground right now. We've seen, if you go back to correlation coefficient, it'll show you that debris ball. And unfortunately, it looks like the City of Sullivan has just gotten hit by this tornado. I don't really know how to say that in a more easier way. Right, you need to be taking their shelter right now. It's coming up next. Sullivan will get you through this. You'll get through this. We'll get you through this. But City of Wright, you're up next. Like I just said, all the warnings I just said for Sullivan, that's now applying for you. Same with the town of Worthington. It's now applying for you. You have, I know it says 1039 for Gilmore, 1041 for Wright. I would give yourself maybe a minute or two at this point. Just don't even play around with these storms. Don't give yourself extra time because you don't know how much time you need to get into that shelter. Just go there now, turn us on the YouTube. If you turn your local affiliates on your YouTube app if you can, turn your TV way up, go there right now. And if you're a kid in the area and you don't have your parents at home, just make sure you're going to that shelter that you've gone to previously. You know, you've lived here a long time, You know you've done this before in previous severe weather situations. You know what happens when a tornado comes. You go to that bathroom, or you go to that closet, or you go to whatever room that is that you've gone to before. You go to a basement. Turn us all the way up. Turn your affiliate, or your people on the news, all the way up on your remote so you can hear us. Put us on your phone, whatever you can, and go there right now. This is a situation, is a dangerous situation. You need to be taking shelter immediately. If you know anyone in Wright, if you have family or friends in Wright, go take those precautions right now. Tell them to take shelter immediately and go inside that basement, lowest level room, tornado shelter. Okay, now I'm going to pass things off to Chase to talk more about our broader setup here and what we're expecting to see for the rest of the night.
Yes, thank you, Robert. Hopefully those folks there are taking their precautions. But anyway, we're gonna zoom out a little bit and look at the entire event we're looking at. Currently, we're looking at a high-risk event right here into portions of southwestern Arkansas, southwestern Tennessee, and northwestern Mississippi. And surrounding that, we have a moderate risk. The high risk that was in effect for parts of Illinois and Iowa has discontinued because the storm cells have moved out of that area. But there's still a moderate risk for you folks in Illinois, Indiana, and now reaching a little bit into Ohio. So if you're in that moderate risk, please be weather aware. And then around that, we have an enhanced risk, slight, marginal, and then this very, very light green is what we call non-severe. But if you're in any of these risks, please be weather aware, as we have been seeing dangerous weather all night with these cells. Now, there's a couple things I want to jump into, a new mesoscale discussion. All right, so this is talking about the big tornado we have. I believe this is the one that Robert was talking about into Illinois and Indiana, where tornado likely wind damage and large hail threat will likely continue for several more hours. This event is nowhere near done. Several more hours from the Storm Prediction Center. And the greatest threat for tornado in western and central Indiana. So this storm that went through Illinois now has its sights set on central Indiana. Now let me take a look at what they're saying down here. We'll continue over the next few hours. They could be issuing another weather watch. A cluster of strong storms located near the Ohio River for southwestern Indiana to west. These storm clusters have great instability. And one of our main contributing factors in this area is we have a lot of CAPE. CAPE is basically a measure of energy available to these thunderstorms to work with. And we also have a jet of 90 to 100 knots located over southern Missouri. And what that tells us is these storms have incredible amounts of shear. And what shear is, it's change in wind speed and direction as you go up in height. So at the surface, you could have wind blowing that way at 10 knots. You go up 1,000 feet, it could be blowing the opposite way at 50 knots. So that's kind of what wind shear is. And shear allows these storms to be healthy because it separates their downdraft and their updraft. Basically, downdraft is the cold air and the rain, and the updraft is the warm air that feeds the storm. So we are seeing that, and we are seeing a 75-knot low-level jet located in western Kentucky, which is even more severe, which is even better parameters for strong to severe weather. But anyway, that is for these cells moving into central Indiana. If you are in this area of Indiana, please, please, please take precautions, as we're seeing CAPE values of 1,500, and we are seeing a great tornado threat in that area and lots of shear. There's also another one I wanted to look at really quickly, if it's still up. Yes. Now this was when this original cell that we had in Tennessee first touched down just south of Jackson. Since then, it's about 50 minutes old. It has moved off into Tennessee. A great threat for tornadoes in this area because we have another cell that is working its way into the same exact region. Now I'm going to zoom out and look at what the National Weather Service has for us across the country. You can see this corridor of yellow is a tornado watch we have extending from parts of Michigan all the way down to almost the coast of eastern Texas. We have most of central Louisiana in a tornado watch, all of eastern Arkansas in a tornado watch, northwestern Mississippi and central western Mississippi. We have western Kentucky, western Tennessee, southeastern Missouri, east central Illinois, and majority of Indiana all in tornado watch. That means conditions are favorable for tornadoes, and within those we have our specific tornado warnings. Now I just want to show you the system that is causing this event. You see we have this low pressure here, the strong low pressure, 989 millibars. We have these kind of warm fronts here, and what those are doing is it's drawing warm, very warm moist air up from the Gulf, creating moisture for these storms to feed off of. And what you need for severe weather is moisture. Then we have a cold front that's providing the lifting mechanism, basically getting these air parcels to start moving. and after that they will take off with the available cape energy we do have in the area, and that is what is causing the severe weather. And over the night into tomorrow, it will continue working its way off towards the east. So this event is nowhere near finished. And anyway, I just want to look at our current power outages. As you can see, where we've had the severe weather all day. We had a lot of severe weather in Iowa earlier, but now our main story is Illinois, where we're seeing tons of customers without power. As you can see, where we had that line of thunderstorms with 90-mile-an-hour winds. 90 miles an hour, that's EF1, almost EF2 type, or EF1 winds. Work through this area. As we can see, folks have unfortunately lost power. 8,000 without power in Lee, and we have 2,000, almost 3 without power in Marshall. So if you know anyone in those areas, please send them a text message, let them know they are not out of the woods yet. And we are seeing those power outages start to creep up into Indiana as we have that line of storms start to move in and as those numbers start to trickle in. Now I want to take a quick look at what we got going on radar. So on radar, you can see we've got multiple cells, multiple severe thunderstorm warnings, multiple tornado warnings. I'm just going to zoom in real quick to some of the tornado warnings we have going. So I'm going to start off at the top, and we're going to talk about the one we have right now in Indiana, just south of South Bend. I'm going to pull up the actual warning. So we have a radar indicated rotation for this storm. It is moving the east at 65 miles an hour. Imagine going on interstate. Where I'm from, we have Interstate 95, and that's 5 miles under the speed limit, which is 70. So if you can believe that storm is moving highway speeds. Hazard will be tornado, and it will be near North Liberty around, well, actually right now, it'll be Gilvore Park in Lakeville here in the next 5 minutes, and then it'll be in Bremen around in the next 10 minutes. So if you are in the path of these storms, please, please, please take cover, because this storm could have a tornado on the ground that we just don't know yet. Because some of these tornadoes that form these kind of squall lines are really hard for us to pick out because there's so much going on compared to a discrete supercell, which is what we have going on down in Tennessee, but we will get there in a moment. Anyway, I want to look at this next cell, which I believe has a tornado emergency, but I don't want to speak too soon there. As you can see, we have a tornado producing cell, radar confirmed tornado right now into northeastern Sullivan County in southwestern Indiana, and this is for all these areas. It is currently 7 miles northwest of Linton, 24 miles south of Terre Haute, moving east at 70 miles an hour, 7-0. That is incredibly fast. Damaging tornado. We, of course, see flying debris and all the other hazards that come with tornadoes, and it will be near Worthington and Coral City in the next 4 minutes. So if you are in those areas, you need to be in cover right now. It's almost too late. You do not want to wait for the storm to be on top of you because it's A, dark, and B, this tornado could be rain-wrapped. What we mean by rain-wrapped is there's a curtain of rain obscuring the tornado so you can't actually see it. And then at night, it makes it that much harder. So see, these are some of the more dangerous tornadoes you can have. And it'll be moving near Patricksburg in the next 8 minutes and Freedom in about the next 10-ish minutes. So you folks in the path of this storm need to be in cover. This is confirmed. It has produced tornadoes before. And if it doesn't have one down, it most likely will have one down again soon. But treat it like there is one on the ground. I just want to switch to velocity really quick. See if we, yes, look at that couplet. It's a little bit broad, but still take precautions. It still could have a tornado on the ground. And I'm going to switch back to reflectivity, and we're going to continue working our way south. So we're going to work our way down into Kentucky now. Let me pull up this next tornado warning. So anyway, we have a tornado, we have a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. It is radar indicator rotation. Again, like I've said many times throughout the night, just because it's radar indicated doesn't mean there isn't a tornado on the ground. There most likely is one. We just have not spotted it, or it has not been, as we like to say, confirmed. It is moving. It is right now located over Henderson. If you are in Henderson, it's too late at this point. You need to be in your safe area. It's moving east at 70 miles an hour. Another storm moving 70 miles an hour. Incredible storm speed we have seen today. Tornado and quarter-sized hail. It will be passing through New Burr around 9:50 Central Time. We are in Eastern Time, so Central Time, so in about 7 minutes. It's moving through Eureka and Stanley in the next 10 minutes. And this includes, if you're on highway, Interstate 69 in Kentucky between mile markers 145 and 148, Interstate 69 in Indiana between mile marker 1 and 7, Audubon Parkway between mile marker 1 and 23. So if you're in any of these areas in your car on these interstates, pull over, and as last resort, get in a ditch. That's much safer than your car, because these tornadoes can take cars and toss them like a child's toy, which we have seen multiple times, and unfortunately people have lost their lives by trying to outrun or stay in their cars. or get into a sturdy building, a gas station, fast food, whatever you can. Just get out of the way of the storm until it has moved through. And is moving very quickly. It is moving faster than a mile a minute. 60 miles an hour is a mile a minute. These storms are moving faster than that. So if it's 10 miles away from you, it could be there in as little as 8 minutes. So please take that into account with these storms that are moving your way. Now we're going to take a look at these cells we have going on around Memphis. This has been the story all day. Memphis, you have been in the line of fire all day. We had a few hours ago, we had a storm go just to the north of Memphis. We had this cell, I think this one in particular, maybe one further off towards the east, move almost in the exact same areas, just a little bit further south and went through Hernando. However, this is our next cell. Take a look at that tornado warning. We have a capable of producing tornado, like I said before, already could be one on the ground, moving northeast at 60, basically a mile a minute, is radar indicated, and locations in the path are South Haven, Collierville, Germantown, Olive Branch, Horn Lake, Hernando, Memphis, Walls, Lynchburg, Eudora, and South Memphis. All need to be in your safe place. I know these areas have been named multiple times throughout our severe coverage, but you're still in the line of fire as we do have these storms that start out in Arkansas and get pulled off towards the east following this system. And I'm actually going to move off to this next cell we have further to the east. As you can see, we have again, another storm capable. Like I've said before, could already be on the ground. It is located 7 miles southeast of Selmer, moving at 50 miles an hour. You can see tornado, quarter-sized hail, and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Locations that could see impacts are Savannah, Selmer, Adamsville, Morris Chapel, Crump, Bethel Springs, Eastview, Finger, Stantonville, Mildredville, Enville, and 40 Forks, and of course multiple other places. And so these storms are incredibly intense. If you are in the path, please get out of the way. And let me take a look. Now we have some storms starting to fire here into southeastern Arkansas, which is what we've been seeing all night. These storms fire down here and start producing tornadoes up here. And as the SPC has stated before, as you move further towards the east, the conditions only get better as we are in a high shear, low cape environment. So please, if you were in these areas, be on the lookout. But just to kind of give you an example of what we had today, we have seen multiple rounds of severe weather. We had a tornado go through Little Rock, Arkansas earlier. We had a almost mile-wide tornado skirt to the north of Iowa City. And actually, when that went through north of Iowa City, we had another tornado to its south. So we have been seeing major tornadoes all day. And actually, I've seen that we could have a possible mass casualty event declared in Belvedere, as we did have a roof collapse during a concert that was going on there, which either could be due to straight line winds or tornado. We're not quite sure yet, but our thoughts are with those people. So these are just some of the examples of some of the severe weather damage we have been seeing today. So like I said again, if you're in these areas, please, please, please pay attention as we could be seeing. And one last look at our convective outlook real quick before I toss things over to Aaron. As you can see, we still have a high risk here into Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, but you folks up to the north are not out of the woods yet. You still are in a moderate risk, which you could see some severe weather. So Aaron, what's going on around the radar?
That's right. We're still seeing a lot of activity on radar as those storms are continuing to progress off towards the east here. We have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for places in Indiana, as well as down towards central Indiana as well. We also have 2 tornado warnings embedded within that line as well. So we can actually go to this first, right there, that first cell here in at least just south of South Bend, Indiana here. Tornado warning, radar indicated there for Marshall and St. Joseph counties here. Okay, the one to the south here, which we'll look in just a moment, is confirmed here. But this one it will expire at 11 p.m. Eastern time, so it'll be 10 Central. So that should be in about 15 or so minutes, or so, just under that. That one to the south here that Chase just mentioned here, this one is observed as tagged here on the tornado warning there. This goes for Boone, Clinton, Montgomery, and Tipton counties here in southern Indiana. Right, so it's moving at 60 miles per hour here, just about across near Thornton, US Route 52, up towards US 421, and up towards just off to the northeast of that. So if you're in Frankfort, if you're in Thornton here, especially where this rotation area is here, where the velocities, where you have the winds that are coming really close to one another, that are spinning in different directions, where this great circle here that was drawn by Evan shows where we have that rotation, that spin in the atmosphere. That's where we have the tornado that has been observed and now confirmed on radar here. So that is why we have the tornado warning in effect for the southern portions of southern Indiana, I should say. So we do have that CC drop right there where we could potentially have some debris lofted in the air by this tornado here, just off to the south and west of Colfax, about to move over into US Route 52 here near Colfax, and then just off to the north of Thorntontown. That's where we have the potential for this storm to move. So again, if you're in Colfax, if you're over towards Reagan and Thorntontown, and including Bowers moving over you right now, make sure you're in that interior room right now, the lowest portion of your house, because that's where the safest place is going to be at. So we can actually put a time, yeah, there we go. Put a time here to at least show how fast the storm is moving and where it's actually is going to go at what time. So Reagan by about 11 p.m., I should say, Central, or Eastern time, I should say. So this will be about 9:59 p.m. Central. 11:01 p.m. Frankfurt, 10:01 p.m. Frankfurt, 10:05 p.m. Avery, and 11:08 p.m. Michigan Town here, where we have the tornado couplet is moving over into these areas. So again, if you're anywhere within this polygon, you need to make sure you go into that interior portion of your house, a structured building where you can feel, or you'll be safe there. And make sure as well if you have that tornado gear. So if you have like a bike helmet or a mattress that's preferred to cover yourself in case any of that debris penetrates through whatever structure you're at, and you can have extra layer of security there. But again, this is going to cross over Interstate 65 here in southern Indiana, moving towards Kirkland, Reagan, and over just to the north of Thorntontown is where we have that tornado warning that has been issued by the National Weather Service here in Indianapolis. So if we go off to the south here, look at some of the other cells that are moving up. Yeah, so this is also underneath that severe thunderstorm warning. That's what I was mentioning earlier too. Some of these severe thunderstorm warnings, even though they're not tagged for a tornado specifically, they could easily have these little spin-ups, especially in those discrete cells ahead of the main line here, which is what's going on right now across Illinois and into Indiana. So here's another tornado warning here. It's in effect off toward or crossing over into U.S. Route 231 here. So Worthington upward to Bean Blossom there. Need to watch out there. This tornado is, at least you're underneath the warning there. So do need to watch out for that. This is radar indicated, so it is not confirmed by an observer, but again, you want to treat this as it's on the ground right now, because it could be. All this is indicating that there's rotation, at least in velocity on radar there, and you need to take precautions as such.
Same cell that went through Sullivan that we just tracked about 10 minutes ago.
Okay, so this is, I'm not sure if you heard, but this is the same cell that did track through Sullivan earlier, just off to my south, or off to my the bottom left-hand side of your screen there, along U.S. Route 150 is where Sullivan's at. That's where that cell particularly went earlier here, and unfortunately caused some damage there, as we saw the CC drop just a moment ago. But again, this is north of Worthington, south of Sugar Ridge. This is moving off toward the north and east. And is there a speed on this storm that we can?
Yes, it is 70 miles an hour.
70 miles an hour. So this is freeway speed. So again, imagine this is Interstate 10 right here. If you're traveling directly parallel with the storm's motion, you basically be traveling at the same speed on the freeway there. So again, here is where they have that velocity couplet there. It's not as intense, but there looks like there could be some rotation right here near the Clay City area, kind of extending just off, I should say, off to the southeast of Clay City, where we could see perhaps some weak rotation with this. Again, nothing confirmed on the ground as of right now, but it is currently radar indicated, and again, it's going to almost, I want to say, parallel to 231, but kind of diagonally with U.S. Route 231 moving towards Ellettsville. So again, if you're in Ellettsville or anywhere just outside of that polygon, you want to make sure you're watching this very closely, as if they do, if the NWS does end up extending this polygon off towards the east here, they potentially could be underneath the gun for that. So further off towards the south and west here, we have another system, or another cell, I should say, that's moving through Sullivan. Unfortunately, we just got hit with that storm there earlier. So this is along U.S. Route 150, as I mentioned earlier. That is moving off toward the north and east. This is actually observed. So this is, okay, this is an old warning, but again, it's still, we have strong storms moving through Sullivan right now. So even that debris that might have been lofted by the previous tornado could potentially still be on the ground. It could be moved around and just shoveled pretty easily with the winds there. So again, this whole line right here is just a severe thunderstorm warning after another. It's very strong, very powerful storms moving through the upper Midwest right now. So another particular tornado warning we are looking at right now is over in Evansville here, just off towards the west of Troy and south of the Interstate 64 corridor. It is moving off to the north and east as well. This is radar indicated, so velocities have indicated potentially rotation there. Moving off to the northeast, about a cross over. Can you show real quick just off to the south, just to see what interstate that is? Okay, Interstate 165 there, just north of Beta and north of Owensboro there. About a cross over US 60. And again, this is radar indicated. This is over Davies counties, Henderson, Spencer, and Warwick counties here in southern Indiana here. Moving off to the northeast. What's the speed on this? East at 70. So again, also freeway speed here, moving off to the northeast really quickly, really rapidly. So if you're in any of these locations, make sure to go in that lower part of your structure, go into a basement if you have one. That'd be preferred. So actually right here, where my finger is at, right there, is where we have that velocity couplet, that's where we have that rotation going on, right where that's being circled right there. This is a particular area of concern that we're watching that's moving off towards the north and east, just north of Owensboro, south of Evansville. So even though Troy, you may not be in the line of fire right now, you might quickly be in that Troy warning fairly soon if this does end up continuing on over the next several minutes to potentially hours as well. So putting a track on this, looks like it'll move through about Coralville here by about 9:59 p.m. Central Time, 10:05 p.m. Bluff City, 10:08 Burke City, I should say, 10:16 Luce, and then 10:20 over into Rockport. So again, you want to make sure you go into that interior portion of the structure, as it's vitally important, as we could have a tornado that's currently on the ground. And right now is indicated by velocity that we have some sort of rotation right now over this system. So if we go off towards the south here to look at any more storms here. So we have that tornado warning, or actually 2 tornado warnings here. 3, wow, okay. 3 here just south of Memphis, near Shelby County, as I was told by my friend here. Rossville, crossing over Interstate 269 here, near Colliersville. So again, this is in effect for DeSoto, Fayette, Marshall, and southeastern Shelby counties here, just off to the southeast of downtown Memphis. Here's where we have that tornado warning. It's very indicated, which means that velocity is at least showing some rotation here. Doesn't look any bullish here, so it looks like maybe just off to the west of Olive Branch, just about a crossover interstate, or not interstate, US Route 78 there is where we potentially could have that broad area of circulation there. This is moving off to the northeast towards Colliersville and Interstate 269 around the beltway of Memphis. So this is like what, the 3rd tornado supercell moving through the Memphis area, is that right, Chase? So yeah, so it's really significant here as we have just one round after another of just these cells coming in and in and in. And here's the one actually went through Memphis earlier here, or close to Memphis, out ahead of that, near Clifton there. Savannah as well, underneath that tornado warning there. Radar indicated. This is in effect for Decatur, Hardin, and Henderson counties here in Tennessee. This goes until 10:30 p.m. Central. So again, watch out if you go to that shelter, that designated shelter, which hopefully you have looked for before this outbreak, over in Clifton and Savannah. So velocity doesn't look really impressive at all, for at least any indication there could be a tornado on the ground right now. But again, doesn't matter. You're still underneath a tornado warning. If you're listening to me from Clifton, or if you're in Savannah, you want to make sure you go into that interior room, as it is vitally important and could potentially save your life in the event that there actually is a tornado. And even worse too, don't go out trying to find the tornado as well. Keep that to the professional storm chasers, because it could potentially damage or you could potentially risk injury to your own life, or even take your own life with that, because especially at nighttime, you can't see very much. And with trees and other things, it's just, you don't want to do that. So do not play storm chaser. Go to that interior room. It will be vitally important, and it could also save your life. So again, the rotation is somewhere probably right here, just north of Savannah. That cell is moving off towards the north and the east towards Clifton. So Clifton needs to be underneath that warning. And we're moving at 50 miles an hour here, so country highway speed. Still moving off to the north and east. Again, it's going to cross over Clifton, and we'll have to watch to see if the NWS actually does end up continuing that warning. So here's the other cell here, just off to the north of, actually almost like northeast of Memphis, near Humboldt, and also into McClorsville. There we have the tornado warning in effect there for Carroll, Crockett, Gibson counties. This is also radar indicated going till 10:30 p.m. Central Time as well. if we can look at velocity real quick to kind of check to see what the wind speed is. Okay, so it looks like right in there we have a small couplet moving off to the northeast, so approaching McClorsville. So we'll have to watch that as we go throughout the next several minutes or so, as the storm does end up going into much of, we've got 60 miles an hour, so between country highway and freeway speed. So if we can go over to the overview to kind of look over our whole overall setup here across the entire, at least one last look at our overview setup here across the national, or our national audiences here. We have a high risk warning that's in effect for the southern portions of the area near the Mississippi Valley there. We also have that, that enhanced and at moderate risk also extending and arcing up till about Chicago in Lake Michigan. So that's where we have the greatest chance of severe weather here tonight, and this will continue throughout the several next few hours or so as that line does progress off towards the east here. So I actually should grab my clicker here so I can go to the next slide here. I realized I forgot that. So here we are, here back. So that high risk still in effect for portions of northwestern Mississippi into extreme southwestern Tennessee, as well as into Arkansas as well. So current severe weather risk today, as we've seen, we've had several large damaging tornadoes crisscross throughout the region. Large hail, we've all had reports of almost golf ball sized hail, 2-inch hail. That's almost baseball sized hail, so a lot there, pretty large hail. You definitely don't want to get hit by this outside, so don't walk outside in the middle of a hailstorm. So the available instability we have in the atmosphere to at least allow these updrafts to expand up into the atmosphere and allow for these storms to build here. We have a good amount of energy in effect, at least for the southern portions of the southeast there, but that will begin to wane as we go throughout the next several minutes or so, or I should say hours. So again, the best place to go in the event of a tornado for the rest of the night here, that's the biggest message we're pushing, is go to the interior portion of the structure, so a bathroom, a hallway, stairs, and basement if you possibly can. That's the best place to go to. So again, that wraps up our severe weather coverage tonight here at FSU Weather. We hope you all stay safe. Make sure to have ways to receive alerts, have multiple ways to receive alerts tonight as this continues on for over the next several hours or so. Have a great night.